Welcome, everyone. I'm Dan McDermott, your host in beautiful Bentonville, Virginia, where it's raining and cold. So there, sympathy. Okay, let's introduce our panel. We have my co-host, Alan Firstenberg. Welcome, Alan.
Hey, Dan, you are getting no sympathy from me. It is freezing rain and cold here, too.
Wait, I have to put a mouse over Alan's forehead, or Gerwin complains.
Yeah.
And then we have Harold Carey, who is started smoking.
Yes, I'm trying out my new Chromebook camera. I don't know if there's a problem with it or what. But it's 17 degrees is the high, and 0 is going down to 0 tonight.
Wow. So you're sponsored by Microsoft tonight. Michael Banks joins us in Augusta, Georgia. Welcome, Michael.
Hello. I don't know why y'all talking about it's cold. It's 80 degrees outside.
Georgia's hot.
Oh my gosh.
Michael Banks, Ellis rather, is here. Welcome, Michael.
Hello. I'm back.
Are you in bed?
I'm sitting on a bed, yeah.
It's going to get wild and crazy tonight.
This is all of the bed you're going to see, and I put a shirt on for the show.
We appreciate your effort there.
Yeah, thanks.
Pam Adger, who's muted, is with us. Welcome, Pam.
Hi, Dan. Hi, everyone.
Are you in the usual place or a different place?
Usual place.
And you have a new phone, I understand.
I do.
Do you have it with you?
The beautiful Samsung Galaxy Note 3.
Oh, Lord.
Now, what was your previous phone?
It was a beautiful Samsung Stratosphere.
Was that what is that, gingerbread, or what was it?
Yeah, it was running gingerbread, yeah.
So this is
running 4.3, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's what I have. I just got it yesterday.
You already know more than I do about it, Pam.
But our phones don't flip, Michael, so we're still jealous of you.
I don't have a flip phone.
I'm joking.
I have this.
So have you found a learning curve, or how do you like it?
I adore it. It's a phablet, right? So it comes with a stylus, so you can...
So you can lose
fabulous.
Yes.
You find it fabulous, Pam?
It's fabulous.
I'm curious if you use the stylus thing in 2 weeks still.
Careful, Dan.
Well, I have it comes with an app. I downloaded an app called PixArt, and also Samsung has bestowed Sketchbook on me, so I am going to try it with the stylus and see if I can. I can't draw worth shit, but we'll see.
Now, did you get one of those free Samsung watches with the Note 3?
I did not, but I got this for $129. So
that's right. You have to turn in a used inkjet cartridge to get the free Samsung watch from Best Buy.
They tried.
A refurb unit.
They tried to sell me the Samsung watch, but instead I got this beautiful case that allows me to set it up like a little tablet, and it closes and everything, so I got that instead.
And as a loyal Our Android Week viewer, you know better than to buy that Samsung watch.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to it. Congratulations on your purchase. So it'll be interesting to have you give us your ongoing review.
Okay.
Okay, so next up, seasonal Auto-Awesomeness. This is not a earth-changing feature, but it's kind of cute. Who put this, Alan? Did you want to?
I put it in, but I think this is earth-shattering.
It turned a picture of cocaine and a dollar bill into a snowing...
Oh, they're going to have fun with this, yeah.
Yeah.
My personal favorite so far has been the beach crab picture that is snowing on it now. So what we're making fun of, for those of you who haven't been fortunate enough to see this, is that they've added 2 new Auto-Awesome features. If it looks like you have snow in your picture, then Google will add more snow, as in falling snow. there are a lot of people in Mountain View that are criticizing this as being the reason why they're suffering for a cold snap right now, which is what I mean by earth-shattering here. And second, if it has identifiable lights, as in it looks kind of like Christmas lighty, get it? They'll make the various lights twinkle. So you've now got some animated twinkling Christmas lights, some animated snow, which actually looks better than what you can find on some of the cartoons that air this time of year. And overall, it's one of those cute, whimsical things that actually proves that, you know, there are some people who have a heart that are running this thing. And I might point out, I noticed today that somebody commented that we've now been suffering with communities for a year now, and I think these are much better improvements than communities were.
Wow.
So, what does everyone else think about these new changes?
I think it's
I
awesome.
can tell we're all just so thrilled with them.
I haven't used them yet, so I have nothing really to say except the pictures that I've seen. Just okay, it's fine, but I wish they would invest their programming energy in things that really matter. A lot of Auto-Awesomeness is only valuable to people that love to take photography or take photographs, you know.
Which is arguably a large portion of people on Google Plus, but also I think
it's not a large portion of the people in the world.
Debatable, but
tell that to Instagram, who just made how much money on it?
Okay.
I think it's just not a gimmick, but
It's a gimmick. What do you mean it's not a gimmick?
It is a gimmick.
I'm trying to. I mean, more of a ploy to get the less techie people to Google Plus. Something it does automatically, and that you might enjoy.
Yeah, so I don't have any objection to that. I really don't. But I'm having trouble with things that are persistently wrong.
What do you mean
that
wrong?
Just don't work correctly.
Like the rest of photographs.
They don't fix them.
Even if we focus
I don't think it's aimed to fix. I don't think it's aimed to fix at all. I think it's something simple that happens automatically that someone might enjoy and get that moment that they enjoy, like filters. I mean, they don't work. I mean, they don't make the picture look better, but it's something simple that people do to make the experience better.
Okay, let me just time out for a second. Dan, we've got a comment on YouTube that there's a low continuous noise or hum. So why don't you take a look at that while I tell Michael why he's wrong. And Michael, I agree with that. I agree with that. I think, you know, having this some of the Auto-Awesome stuff be there to tell people, hey, Google Plus can be fun, it can be whimsical, you can do neat and cool things with it. That's great. But I think what they need to focus on at the same time is telling people that it is actually possible to do stuff with your photos instead of having them get mangled or lost in places where they can't find it. It would be great if they actually made things like Auto-Awesome movies usable by more than 4% of the people out there, and even for those 4%, make it actually work correctly and usefully. I mean, if you're going to make it so that everyone can use it, make it so everyone can use it.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
Oh, come on! Photo management is a tragedy. And it has been for 2 years now.
It has. Look at the backends, though. I mean, you can't. If they would have started from scratch, maybe it would have been better. But they used something that was already in existence, which is. I mean, it's tough to say that Picasso Web had good management, too. It's tough to say that.
Yeah. I don't know. Everyone who I've talked to that's used Picasso Web has said that it used to be much better.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest problem I have in there is I cannot delete my albums. When I go to my phone, there's like 50, every time I do a Hangout or anything, it creates a new album. I have 50 million albums when you go over and to look at them. And another thing, when you go to edit an album, the most common thing you do is to resize it. Nowhere in Google is there a way to resize your photo to make it a different size.
Why would you resize it on... I'm confused. Why would you resize it?
I want to make it smaller, so when I upload it to Facebook, it's not 4 gigabytes. That I basically only want it to be around 1,200 gigabytes because it uploads faster and it's so.
Well,
I always make them smaller, the photos that I use for when I send them in the email and stuff like that.
When you upload to Facebook, unless I'm mistaken, they downsize your photo anyway, just like Google Plus does.
Well, it just takes a lot longer, but there's reasons for people to resize photos, and there's absolutely no way in Picasa or in Picasa Web or on Google you can resize a photo, which is a very common thing.
I got it. I mean, sure. I don't see the use case, but sure.
Okay, I think we
like
got a
to
complaint. I was just watching the stream. There's Alan about the. I think is it Michael who keeps popping up in the thing? Is it Michael Banks or Michael? I'm not sure where the hum's coming from. I think it's one of you guys has some sort of audio.
Dan, I'm gonna mute, and you can decide if over time.
Just mute one at a time.
Okay, so we all agree that this Auto-Awesomeness is appropriately named. It's basically the killer feature of Google Plus now.
Well, one of the things that's real popular is with my kids. They always want to use Google Plus because it has these things. Not with us, but with the kids. That's the number one feature they want, is to play with these effects on Google Plus.
You talking specifically about the photos, or also some of the Hangout things, like the
Hangout things? They love to do the faces and stuff. They say, "Can we do Google Plus instead of Skype?" I don't want to do Skype. I want to do Google Plus, so it has all these cool features on it.
Yeah, these simple, cheesy features, and I mean the Auto-Awesome part. The reason that's taken off because I mean you do no work. It does it for you. It's like people are lazy now.
But Michael, that's also the downside of it. Is that when people want a particular photo to have snow, to have certain effects, you can't get it to do that.
Agree. You can always go back, though. I will say that.
All of Rob Ford's pictures have the snow effect. They could call it the Mayor Rob Ford awesome feature.
And I'd go one step further and point out that they took a really, really nice photo editor, which used to have some really cool and fun effects, and they threw it out and replaced it with this nice thing that you can change.
I think it's like, I think if you wanted to sum this up, if you looked at what they did with YouTube Live, now, is that public?
It's semi-public. We've only covered it on the show like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
The HOA?
Yes, we covered it 3 weeks ago.
So what it says is... on
this very show.
I'm glad. I'm not in trouble. What it says is when you start a YouTube Live event, and this is rolling out, I guess, it says quick and easy using HOA or advanced, which is the old YouTube Live, but not the old YouTube Live. It's crazy. But I think they do want to have an emphasis on super easy, which means limited by definition. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, but super easy, can't you have like super easy and then one next step was, add this stuff by hand if you know what you're doing or want to take the time?
You know better than to think Chi's going to stick another button on there.
And that's it really, is they've been so afraid to add buttons that they've made it sterile almost. So you either, go with what they have or you don't. There's no such thing as semi-professional anymore.
I guess it's either
you're going to take what they give you, or you're the pro and you're going to be using the $200 tool. There's nothing in between.
And if you spend like 10, 15 minutes in the Google Help community, I don't think doing it for you is going to help some of these users. I think that there are people that just want it all done for you, and then there are people that are more advanced users, and I just don't think, I think Google's trying to sway too far to the have no idea what they're doing and want everything done for you side at the expense of some of these cool features. I mean, they could totally make it an addable feature. They took away the creative toolkit or whatever that did all these little cool things, but then they roll out these stupid little things that do it for you during the holidays. I think, you know, I don't care if Mr. Jingles is wearing a Santa hat. I'm sorry. I just don't.
But
You know
someone
what I mean?
does. Someone does.
I think that Mr. Jingles is cute, but you know, I mostly agree with you, Pam. I disagree with you on one point, though. I think they're schizophrenic. They really don't know if they want to appeal to the masses, I'll say, incorrectly I'll say, or if they want to appeal to the professionals. So they end up trying to appeal to both, and they end up appealing to neither.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead, Michael. Disagree with me.
I agree that they try to please both sides. I agree that part. I don't think it appears to neither. I think it goes both ways, I guess. I mean, which is sort of the downfall. But I don't think it appears to none.
I think it appeals to neither,
And
ultimately.
I think they make it simple because so many people complain that there's so many elements to Google Plus. It's only for the techie people. I think they make these small features to appeal to the less techie people. And the more automated it is, yeah, it's not always perfect. Yeah, it might not work a lot, but when it does work, it's magical.
Yes, and I think that part is great. The problem is then there are a lot of people who then say, oh, I'd like to just tweak it in this way, and the answer is no. And that a lot of people get turned off by that fact.
Because I know Craig Shipp he loves Auto-Awesome.
We have this comment from Andrew Jones McGuire. I love seasonal Auto-Awesome. The twinkle feature is actually really amazing. Wow, does that actually look good on my screen anymore? Yeah, I guess that's okay.
It turned a photograph of a beer keg Christmas tree. They tried to add twinkles to that. It was sad.
It was sad.
Look, you're starting with a beer keg Christmas tree.
Yeah, that's
How
right.
sad can it be?
That's right. It's not exactly a great photo to begin with. I saw it.
Well, I just think it's great technology.
Okay, I apologize. I'm sharing a post right now, so you guys can look at my stream, and you'll see it. I just shared 3 photos. This is just I'm going to show you guys watching the show. You guys in the panel won't see it, but you can click on it's just 3 photos. It's a photo I took a couple hundred yards from where I am now at the Shenandoah River State Park, and the sun was coming down. It was all orange and just beautiful. So the first photo.
Oh my God, that's a beautiful photo.
Yeah, it was a little dark. That's actually the third in the set. The dark one where you can't really see because it was nighttime. But the orange, that's the raw from my Sony NEX7. And then if you look at, then there's one with the Auto-Awesome at medium. And you can see it preserves the orange, but you can still see the orange reflecting on the lake as it was in the original shot, which is unaltered completely. But it just makes all the things that should be darker, darker, and brighter, brighter. And then this shot here, which is the first in the set, they're in reverse order. This is the Auto-Awesome on high. And this is just a typical view, but here, this is why people come to Skyline Drive in the Shenandoah Valley, because it's just so beautiful. But it did it by itself. And then I went back in and manually changed it and saved each version. And anyone who wants, you can download this full size. It's a big picture.
Which stream is it in? Because it's not on your personal one or the Google Plus Week one.
It's on my Google Plus stream. I posted it publicly. It should be my latest post there. It just went out to Twitter and Facebook, so it was public. But that's just an example. This is a really cool feature. Now, I don't know how much you can tweak this. And this really is what we were discussing as far as the video thing, where that's sort of an automated seasonal thing. But if you look at the original shot, it's still beautiful. And it's not deceptive, in my opinion, because what I was actually looking at with my native eye was more like the medium shot.
Right. And here's the thing about anybody that talks about doing photo editing is, what you see in a photo, what you see from a camera is never what's there in real life. Trying to pretend that it is only means that you've got no idea what a camera is and how it works. I don't think anybody has a problem with processing itself.
Or how your eyes work.
How your eyes work, yes. I don't think anybody has a problem with the editing. I don't think anybody has a problem with those basic auto-awesomeness features, the auto-enhance features. I think they're generally good. I do know there are occasions where you want to turn them off, and I'm glad they give that feature. What I think a lot of people have issues with are some of the gimmicky auto-awesome features that people want a little more control over, that it's just not obvious how. I will, here's...
When you say gimmick, are you talking about like the one I'm sharing now?
I don't know, since I don't know how you generated that.
It was just a series of photos, and then Google made a GIF, an animated GIF out of them. If you take a series of photos quick enough, then
Yes,
Google will just make a GIF.
Then yes, I've known people that have wanted to do that and have been totally unable to convince Google Plus to turn it into an animated GIF. They've gone through all the suggestions and it just didn't work.
You either get it or you don't get it. That's right. You can't say, okay, I want to take these 10 photos and make an animated GIF out of them. At least as far as I can tell, you can't.
Right.
But generally speaking, if you shoot the photos quick enough, generally speaking, and if you shoot enough of them, I think it's at least 5. I usually shoot 8 or 10. Then my experience is they pretty much make one every time out of them.
I've done cases, though, where I've gotten a series of them, a series of 7 or 8, and it's decided to pick 5, and it picked the worst 5. It's just cases like that where I wish I had a little
Gotta make
more
them all good. Make them all good.
I'm not that good a photographer.
I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you what I do, Alan, that solves that problem. Is I post-process them and then upload them. Exactly. So in other words, I bring them into my local machine, I go through the photos and get rid of the bad ones, and then I upload them to Picasa, and then Google makes the Auto-Awesomes out of them.
And I've had cases where I've done that, and it still is it just doesn't do it.
Another option, if you do like 8 in a series, and it picked the worst ones, take out the ones it chose, and upload those 5 or so again.
Okay, I want to show some comments. Just one little.
I was about to do comments. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was just going to say one breaking news that just unrelated. I'm not going to discuss it, but just North Korea says that they have deported the elderly U.S. Korean War veteran out of the country. So that's cool. Just to let you know. Okay, so Gerwin says he prefers the original, but I want to make sure he's talking about the dark one, because the third in the set that's the darkest is actually the original photo. But in my opinion, you talk about, like some people are like, oh, you should never enhance or do any post. The camera itself, the original raw image, is an enhancement. It's a variation of what the actual naked eye sees. It's an electronic version. And so this auto enhance feature, really, the middle one kind of is more what I was actually looking at. So it's almost like that, what we call enhance, is actually more restorative to the original view by the naked eye. And Sariq's been there. We met, and I think he was there at that. I think I took him up there to that view. And there were some other folks there who the president of the Friends group was actually, I didn't notice who it was because it was dark, but he saw the same thing. And I sent it to them. I said, hey, you guys want to use this? You can. He said he was there, and he actually said this was not enhanced. That's what it looked like, but it was fixed, really. So that's my thought. That's Gerwin. And then what comments did you want to talk about there, Alan? And please keep the live comments going. We're looking at all of them. Alan, you got Andrew up?
Yes, and it would help if I unmuted myself. It doesn't matter if it's a gimmick. It's a nice feeling when you get gifted any auto-awesome thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I agree.
Gerwin, more proof that Gerwin is Gothic. He says he liked the dark one best.
I think the issue, though, with being gifted anything free is that sometimes you want to kind of nudge them in the direction of giving you that free thing that they say they're going to give you. Auto-Awesome Movies is my personal great example of that, is trying to convince trying to convince the system to give you an auto-awesome movie is like pulling teeth.
But you can't make that same argument because that one can be manually manipulated.
No, it isn't. For some definitions of can be, yeah.
What does that? I mean, what do you mean?
I was able to get an auto-awesome movie generated by uploading the files to Google+, downloading them onto my tablet, and then re-uploading them again. These were files that are sitting there fine on Google+.
Oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Hang on one sec, guys. Real quick. Let me listen. It just went away. Who just muted?
Nobody?
Not me. I'm not muted.
Am I?
And Harold's been muted.
It's one of the two Michaels I know. It's
Yeah.
the one in the bed or the one on the bouncing ball. I'm not sure. Take your pick.
And we are
I
not
apologize
in
for
the same
interrupting.
place.
I'm muting my blue mic just because I got an overhead fan running, so I'm muting it anytime I'm not talking.
Now this is an interesting one. Gurman says the hardest auto-awesome to create are the panoramas in my experience.
Agreed.
And Andrew comments that he's got 2 auto-awesome panos, one from the images taken with the Konica Minolta in the days before smartphones, and he was blown away. I've actually had a lot of really good luck with panoramas. I find those tend to work out very well for the shots that I've been taking.
Are you guys taking photos with the idea that hopefully Google will auto-awesomeize them?
Yes.
Okay.
For the animated GIFs, I purposely take
I've
multiple
noticed
shots.
that for years, Craig.
Yeah.
But like, I take pictures not nearly as often as you all, but I take pictures regularly, and they go up to Google. And I've never seen any auto-awesome things, except I think it does the enhancement if it's a little bit dark or something like that. And I think that's nice, actually.
I was wondering, that you cleared up a mystery to me, because I've noticed that whenever Craig Shipp sees a very hot young woman in scantily clad attire, he does tend to take several photos rather than just one. So it's obviously geared toward
well, it's also easier.
possible auto-awesome.
You can just hold your finger down on the trigger.
You have to have movement. You have to have something that's worth animating. And so, yes, I've had some perfect opportunities with Audrey hooping, for example, when they're swinging a hoop around. I mean, that makes it perfect auto-awesome. The one that I showed earlier of her on the Segway, that one just came out epic because of the lights in the background and the bokeh in the background and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But what you have to do, the best auto-awesomes in my experience has been you frame the shot and try not to move that camera and try to make sure that whatever is moving in the shot is moving and not the camera. Because if you jerk the camera around a lot, then you're not going to get a great auto-awesome. And also in post, don't crop them, because if you crop one differently than the other one and so on, then that's going to throw off the auto-awesome.
Now you can manually create those, right, and just upload the GIF to Google+.
Well, but I'm too lazy to. In this way, they just do it. I mean, I just shoot.
You're too lazy to, and yet you're talking about processing them. I'm talking about I shoot
Well, no,
the
when
picture. I want them there.
Alan, when I process, it's like 2 seconds a photo. I take them into Aperture, and I'm going through very quickly, and basically, really, I'm just deleting the bad ones. It's really my processing is weeding out ones where the eyes are closed or whatever. And I do very little post-processing.
I've seen him in action. He is very fast.
I agree with you there. And Craig, my big argument is I want the Google Plus management tools, and I laughingly use that term, to be able to deal with it the same way that I deal with it in Aperture or that I deal with my local photo management.
I think that's coming.
It's not even breathing hard, Michael. What are you talking about? Yeah, it's great to say that it's coming, but honestly, all of the changes we've been getting recently have been making it worse, not better.
Like
the fact that auto backup has now mysteriously disappeared.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. Well, not for me. I just used it
yesterday. Item for auto backup.
What?
Show me where the menu item for auto backup is.
In the search bar.
In the search bar. That's brilliant. It's intuitively obvious that it's there.
Well, if you want to go to auto backup, obviously you're searching for something. Just No,
you're not.
What are you doing then?
I'm going through all my photos.
That's searching. Browsing, searching.
The other question I have is, like, I'm showing another animated GIF right now, and it's smaller than the previous one I showed. They're all the same size photos. They're coming out of the same camera. Why are some of them larger than others? That's the other question.
Well, have you guys seen this? This is albums. I don't understand how this works. I have 50 million albums, and they all have one picture in them. Look at it. There's just tons and tons of albums here with one picture in them. I don't know how they got created.
Because like what that's doing, and I get a lot of that complaint, but it's syncing your Picasso web albums. A lot of the older versions of Android does the full photo sync of all your Picasso web albums, and since Google Plus Photos is using albums in effect to do posts that you post, each post is sort of in conjunction in album. So I mean, it's pulling in all those albums. You can turn that sync feature off, so it doesn't sync all these Picasso web albums, and it'll just be your pictures in your phone. And then you can use Google Plus Photos to get all those pictures right there.
But the problem is I can't delete these. It won't let me delete them.
Because they're not physically on your device. They're syncing. All you have to do is go to Android settings and turn the sync feature off for Picasso web albums and Google Plus Photos.
Yeah, but I mean, how can I? Okay, so but how can I get rid of these now? If I turn the sync off, I can delete them because
they won't be there. If you turn the sync off and clear the app out, they won't be there.
Okay. Because I got tons. It's funny that every single one of these has one picture in it, and it says it's an album, and there's like 70 of them.
That's just the way the back end, which is an issue with management. One of my biggest issues with photos.
Now, I want to be clear about something. I've said a lot against Auto-Awesome this evening, and I want to make clear I actually love Auto-Awesome. I love Auto Enhance. I think that's a great tool, and I think it really is a really cool thing that Google is doing. I think a lot of the Auto-Awesome effects stuff that they've been doing really is cool. I mean, I was sincere when I said at the beginning that I think the 2 new seasonal effects are great new things. It just feels like this is yet another case with Google that they implement the 75% solution. They hint about the fact we're going to get another 20%, and we never get the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem I have with Photos and a lot of Google Plus. It feels unfinished. I see the potential. I think the potential is awesome, but it feels like we never get there.
I think on the visual side, I get what you're saying. On the back end, I think it's built so much. And this is probably a crazy number, I would say 3/4 of Google Plus's photos. And the Picasso web backend, and to change something like that is like unboggling to even imagine.
And yet they're doing parts of it. I mean, the fact that you can now search for something and a picture of that thing, whether you've got it tagged or not, will show up. That's really cool.
Well, this search, Google, yeah.
No, that's going well beyond search. Let's be honest here. Okay? I think that's really cool. What I wish they would do is take it a step further and say, hey, you're getting an awful lot of pictures of turtles. We're going to create a virtual album for you for turtles.
Not Alan. It sounds like you want an Auto-Awesome folder, but like when it does it wrong, and then that's also already management jacked up, and then now you can't change it, and then
You should be able to change it. I want my photos.
I'm scared of that.
I want my photos to be auto tagged.
They're sort of auto tagged by people. That's there.
There sort of are, but there are some people who aren't allowed to have accounts on Google Plus, and I can't tag them.
And I mean, some people don't allow you to tag them anyway. So I mean, depends all on privacy.
Yeah, but but these are my tags.
No.
I want them to be my tags.
You can do that on the offline version right now with Picasa. But, I mean, online, it works the same way with Facebook. I mean, you can't use my name.
Michael, saying it works the same way as Facebook isn't really
it works the same way as anywhere else on the internet.
How come your video is like ghetto tonight? Are you on a cellular connection or something?
Me?
Michael Banks.
Oh, I turned my what do you call it? Bandwidth down. I can turn it back up. I like the HD clip.
It just looks real pixelated to me. Or maybe it's just me.
No, I turned my bandwidth down on the video HD thing.
Are we good on this topic?
Yeah.
I think we only spent like 45 minutes
It's
on
photos. We've only been covering it for... How long have we been covering it now?
45 minutes.
Only
That's it.
35 minutes.
Yeah.
I think there's a 36-hour limit on my YouTube live stream, so we got to
That's
keep.
a record.
But no, we've got a bunch more comments here. Let's
I told you, like,
auto backup button back in photos. They did where? Oh, Gerwin says it reappeared under more. Gee, that's awesome to hear.
It's auto-awesome because it happened automatically.
And let's see, Gerwin says auto backup is useless the way it is now without a clear structure, just putting everything in a list. And I agree with that. That's why this is not photo management of any even vaguely real source. I missed the list in auto backup. I like it that it grouped the pictures to location and time. Yes, yes, yes. And let's take that a step further and not just group it by location and time and group it by subject. Group it by these keywords that it's flagging them by. There's so much more that Google can do. I just wish they'd do it already.
Okay.
Douglas Williams also points out, copy and move gets confusing. See previous comments about how this is a lousy management system. So, yes. It's autumn. It is awesome. It is auto-awesome. And someday they'll actually get the rest of it to work halfway decent. You know what it is? I think the developers think it's really fun and cool to do really nifty things with pictures, and it is fun and cool to do nifty things with pictures. It's not as fun and cool to, manage the pictures. So I don't think they're giving it nearly as much attention as they should.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my final word on the subject.
Excellent.
For now.
All right. We got through that one quickly. Okay, take out your Gmail. Alan.
Daniel.
This sounds right up your alley.
Yeah, this is one of the interesting things that came across that I think it was good to see finally, is that we've seen more and more Google has been making it so that you can take your data with you. They've been very vocal about saying that your data is your data. When you want it, you deserve to get it in a useful and reasonable form. Up until now, it's been a little tricky to get the email that's been sitting in Gmail out, and now they've added Gmail to one of the Google applications that is part of the Takeout process. So now, it's rolling out, so you may not have it available yet. As part of Takeout, you can specify that you want your Gmail, either all of it or all of it for a particular set of labels or meeting other criteria. And say you want it packaged up for you, and when it is ready, it will let you know. And you can download that into an industry standard format called an MBOX format, which just about every mailer in the cosmos knows how to read.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a great move. Once again, it's showing Google has got is being forthright and saying it's your data. If you want to leave. We'd like to keep you, but we're not going to lock you in. We're not going to keep you here by holding your data hostage, unlike certain other companies will try to do. They're going to try to keep us here by offering us great services.
Unless you want to comment on YouTube videos, in which case you're forced to create a Google Plus account.
Can we go there again in a minute?
Yeah, I'm
you
not.
have to create a Google Plus account to download your videos?
Yeah.
No, to comment. To comment.
I'm not even gonna go there right now, but commenting on the Takeout for Gmail, I'm shocked that Alan didn't point out the fact that Takeout has gone such a long way as far as with the Gmail you can not only, because back in the day Takeout, it just gives you everything in one huge crappy file where it's hard to manipulate certain sub-elements to it.
No,
And,
you used to always be able to say which parts you wanted. You didn't have to get it all or nothing.
not which products, but Gmail took it a step further, and you're able to download only mail from this label, and to take it a step farther, download if you all just want. Because I use labels to heart. I mean, I use my Gmail.
I'm with you.
Yeah, but I mean, to be able to download only one label and group all that mail into one area is like, I'm glad they took it a step further and given it that 100% solution and didn't just give you the 75% like other things Alan has commented on.
Touche. And I think Gmail is actually one of the places where they've been very good about providing nearly complete solutions. I think we could go into their last change where I think they botched it up pretty badly. Well-intentioned, but botched. But for the most part, Gmail has been one of their most solid products. And I would even go so far as to say that other divisions in Google really need to learn the lessons that Gmail was teaching. But yes, I agree with you. I think it's great that they've done this, and I think the way that they've done it has been spot on.
To be fair,
it's
Gmail
weird.
does have the highest user base, right?
I think so, yeah.
It's weird that we use some of my business accounts are on Yahoo because switching is such a horrific pain. And then then others are on Gmail or Google Apps, right? And Yahoo, which sucks, makes it hard to leave, and Google, which is awesome, Gmail, which is awesome, makes it really easy to leave. So it's kind of like one company doesn't have the feature you want, the other one has a useless feature. I mean, it's not useless, but like, who the hell would leave Gmail? It's free and crazy good. Yeah. Yeah,
but there are certain companies, Microsoft, who would have built up this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and are trying to convince people that Google is locking you in, and Google's saying, no, we're not locking you in. If you want to leave, leave. We're going to keep you because we're delivering a product that is far superior to other Microsoft products. But if you don't like us, leave.
John Pankhurst, Google Liberation Front.
Well, that's what they called themselves.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they called themselves the Data Liberation Front.
That's funny.
And I think it's a noble effort with a well-intentioned purpose. And that is that your data is your data. And this is Google saying straight out, hey, it's your data.
Okay. All right. Can we move to my favorite company?
Sure, but let me give this one from Michael Daniels first. Dan, so glad you have some friends this week. I think you did a great job last week.
Yeah, I did except for 10 minutes or so when Alan popped in. All of you folks, so I guess we're at Black Friday or whatever the hell you do. And I had to do it solo. And I was afraid I would be so bad that I could potentially create an internet meme of me solo hosting. But I
I'm
guess
sorry,
I did okay.
Dan.
It's okay. So, all right.
I was
Okay.
putting together emergency preparedness kits I'm putting together 300 emergency preparedness kits.
Are you serious?
Yeah. We for the whole city. It costs $40, and you get this bag, and it has bandages and everything like that. And we went through the whole city, and anybody who wanted them. And so we went over to the fire station, and we bought all this stuff. And we put all these packages together. It took us like 5 hours.
Do the Navajo celebrate Thanksgiving? Or do they get pissed off again?
They celebrate. They do a Thanksgiving. What they do, it's very interesting. They dig a 6-foot pit in the ground, and they fill it with wood, and they get it really, really hot, and then they throw rocks in, and then after the wood burns off and the rocks are real hot, then they put the turkey in a big pot and put it in there and put sheet metal over the top and put a fire on the top and let it bake for 6 hours.
Wow. But they're not like pissed off on Thanksgiving.
No, but they do not celebrate Christmas. They don't celebrate Christmas.
Okay. All right.
So Dan, here's I think a great lead-in to the next topic. We have this comment from Gregory Lewis. I was ready to make the switch to all things Google, but I couldn't leave the tried and true Microsoft services.
I used to say that.
Dan, what's your thought on that?
Which would those be?
Look, I
Who's
like
got the background noise?
Michael. Mute your mic for a sec, Mike. Michael Banks, can you mute your mic for a sec? It's not Michael.
It's not Michael and it's not Michael.
Harold, can you mute for 1 sec? Can't be me. I can't be shooting audio back to myself.
It's all of us muted. It's got to be you, Dan.
But my audio doesn't come back here. Let me see. I'll mute myself and see what it does. There's definitely a hum from Michael Ellis.
Yeah.
Hardcore hum.
What the hell is this? Everyone's muted. I'll mute myself.
I don't hear a hum now.
I hear it sounds like an ocean. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear a big hiss. I thought it was me. No?
This is ridiculous. And if everyone's hearing it, refreshing wouldn't do anything. So anyway, in defense of Google services. Oh my God, what an epic fail. All right, so I think I think Microsoft's trolling us. All right, so I'm going to mute you guys for a second. I'm muting the Google Hangout, which sounds like just awful. This is funny, and now I'm going to talk about how Google services are great. So I can't hear you guys, but I'm just going to mute you for a moment while I intro this. Microsoft has their new ad, and the premise is they say, okay, you know, they always get a happy guy. So Google says, this is the follow-up to their pawn shop ad. Google says that their Chromebooks are the laptop that will, all the laptop you'll ever need, right? And I don't know if that's an accurate quote or what. I have no idea. And then they go up to someone and, what do you use your laptop for? It's like, oh, Photoshop, Illustrator. And he says, oh, you know, the Chromecast won't do any of those things. And then they go to several other people, you know, and that's a fair hit, frankly. I mean, if that's what you want, then the Chromebook is not for you. In my opinion, the Chromebook is excellent as a supplementary laptop device. If you're at home, it's lightweight, it's cheap, great for kids. If your main thing is Facebook or Google Plus and email and browsing the web, a Chromebook's fine. If you're doing, you know, something with a proprietary CAD program for your architecture business, it's not fine. I couldn't lay my newspaper out with a Chromebook. I have to have a high-end desktop computer and a couple different monitors, and the ocean's back. God, that's ridiculous. Should we try another thing? I can stall for a minute. If you want to start a, this is unusable. We can't do this. What do you guys think?
Well,
it just went away.
Is it on YouTube? Is it still making noise on YouTube?
It just stopped, so we're okay.
It stopped again, yeah.
But Michael Ellis definitely has a. What note is that? Who's a musician?
I don't know what the musical note is. Let me try something, guys. Did that make a difference?
No. Just are you on a Windows or Chromebook or Mac, or what are you on?
I'm on a Windows machine.
Yeah, just use your. Is it still Control D?
Well, I can mute myself, but
yeah, I think.
Well, what about if we switch to headphones? See if that would help.
I don't know. No, every one of you muted, and we had the ocean sound effect. So I'm not sure what the hell it is.
I don't know. Yeah.
It was a rare glitch with Hangouts.
Huh.
Okay, so anyway, you know, if someone's marketing a Chromebook as a full laptop experience, obviously it's not that. Clearly.
Here's the thing I find funny is one of the apps that they say won't run on a Chromebook is Office, and yet you can run Office 365 fine on a Chromebook.
I do. Yes, I use this is really great with my Navajo people. We do all the Navajo stuff in Microsoft Word, and I can open the file and close the file and save it, and the same with PowerPoint. I can open the PowerPoint files, change them, and send them back to PowerPoint. You can do that. I can do both of this, and I can do it offline. And it's all of that stuff that I do offline. I don't have to be online to do any of that stuff.
There are things, I like to do karaoke, and I will use my awful Sony Vaio, very unreliable laptop for that. Although it's been less buggy of late, which is good. There are times when I want my Nexus 7, mainly reading in the can. There are times when I need my multiple desktops set up like this. I have a laptop, which they're on here. They're on my Sony Vaio laptop, and then I have my my desktop and 2 different cameras. And at times I've used 3 or 4 simultaneously. So there are different needs. When I'm doing the newspaper, I would never do that on a laptop. I would do, I want a desktop, and I have a 32-inch and a 28-inch monitor.
Who's they?
They being
us.
I don't know. When did I say
you said
they?
They are on the laptop. Who's they?
Yeah. You guys are on the laptop. You're on my Sony Vaio laptop. Because I'm joining. If you look, if you look, like the audience can see me in 720p for whatever it's worth. You can even see my birthmark, and yeah, it's a birthmark. Every month or so. So what happened to your eye? And I'm also in the Hangout on a second camera here on the bottom right. They're both Logitech cams, but that's better. So anyway, enough about me.
I don't know. I think what it boils down to is Microsoft is afraid.
With good reason.
They've seen that people, they're terrified. They've seen that people don't like Windows 8. Bit by bit, they're being forced to leave their old machines, and when they're leaving their old machines, they're going to go to something else, and that something else is increasingly either a Chromebook or a Mac.
Still, a Mac is very comparable to a full Windows PC in terms of capability, but a Chromebook is not comparable to either of those things. It has its purpose, just like a tablet. You can have an awesome iPad or Nexus 7, Nexus 10 tablet, but it is in no way is a Nexus tablet comparable to a Windows PC in terms of all the things you can do, and the iPad to the Mac.
But Microsoft is trying to convince people that, for some reason you're going to need these, you're going to need a more beefy computer and operating system, because their attempt at the Chromebook equivalent, Windows RTQ whatever, is a total failure. They botched that one badly.
They took a $1 billion hit.
And now they're trying to convince people that, hey, this Chromebook is just as bad as RT was.
I don't think I've met anybody who likes Windows 8 who doesn't have a touchscreen.
Yeah. Yeah, what really I think hurts them is not basically the operating system, but the operating system and both the software, all of their software products, the Office products, they want you to update that every so often. What's really cool about this is that Google Docs has all the features of that, and it's updated for free every single month. They keep updating it and updating it. It doesn't cost anything. So they're going to lose way more money from losing the income from Office as they would from the operating system. Because people keep their operating systems forever.
That's an excellent point, Harold. That really, they make their money on Office. That's where that's their cash cow right now. That and servers. And if they're going to start losing money on Office, they're in big trouble. And they know it.
2 things. One, I agree with you all on both of those points. The only reason Office still exists right now is because of the enterprise area. And once Google, Drive and all those services grab hold of that, and it's pretty much doomed for that. But as far as the Chromebook issue, I think no matter what system you have, it all depends on what the person uses it for. I would say a great majority of people can get by with just a Chromebook, with what people do nowadays, unless they're doing something, crazy like Photoshop and, those programs, and they can get by with the Chromebook. If it's Word and all that, they can get by with the Chromebook.
But Michael,
Dan, hang on a second.
Sorry,
We've got this quote from Sreek, which I think is important here. Now, remember, Sreek is one of our major Apple fanboys here. We need to put this in perspective. Okay, Sreek, besides Craig, Sreek is the big Apple fanboy of the group. And he says, Chromebook is great. Let's face it, Microsoft, you're going down.
And me personally, I don't like it. I like Google products. I live in Google services, but I haven't picked up my Chromebook in a month.
But
we
got to be fair here.
The opposite.
The Chromebook.
I use mine all the time.
Today,
well,
if I'm doing a big stream like I'm doing tonight, right, a full 4 megabits per second or kilobits, whatever the hell it is, then I'm going to use my desktop. If there are uses for each of these. In 2013, there's still many things I could not do on a Chromebook or any kind of just online only device. But the future is what's important, and that's what they're afraid of. They're not worried about 2013. They're worried that clearly the online offerings, if you look at the way Google Apps has improved, Google Docs, Drive is improved, the Dropbox and then Drive. If you look at the ability to edit video in the cloud with a team and how that has progressed, the photo editing online, the days now where, the Adobe Suite is the superior way on the Windows platform, and I guess Quark is what most of the publishers use on Mac. But what we can do online in the cloud is rapidly getting better. And there will come a time, Windows is not the future. I don't know if the Chromebook is the future, but I know the cloud is the future for collaborative teamwork and for all sorts of utilitarian programs, productivity.
Microsoft is just behind. But I don't think Chromebook right now wouldn't even be in the discussion if it wasn't the right price point. If it wasn't so cheap, it wouldn't even be in the discussion.
That's true, but part of the reason why it is so cheap is you don't need all of those extras. It's offloaded a lot of those tasks to the cloud.
Yeah, well,
it's able to right now.
Yeah, example on mine, I do all those things that I don't ever use Photoshop anymore. I basically can use Pixel Editor, and this is, we're talking offline. I have my photos on my flash drive. So I put my flash drive in, I open up Pixel Editor and edit all my photos. I have my movies on my flash drive. I go into WeVideo and edit all my movies with WeVideo. All of this is done offline from my flash drive, and the same thing, all my PowerPoint files and stuff like that, I can edit everything offline on my Chromebook anywhere I want. What's really cool was with this Chromebook, I plug it into my Chromecast on my television, and I'm sitting there and editing this stuff on my 40-inch television with Chromecast and with my laptop in my lap, and I can do that with Chromecast, and then I also can plug it in to my new monitor, which has HDMI, and so I have this big 27-inch monitor plugged into my laptop. So it works just great on all of those things.
Now, Harold, let me ask you a question. I know you were having issues with your machines earlier. Which machine did you end up on now?
Oh, right now I'm using the external camera on my regular computer, but I could take this camera, I could switch it over to the Chromebook and see if it works just as good on the Chromebook. But the Chromebook camera is not high resolution for some reason.
Now that's interesting. I mean,
yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what's up with your camera. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think there might be something wrong with it because it says high def.
But I know that when I switched from my laptop to using my Chromebox for Hangouts, that's all I use Hangouts on these days. I don't bother with a Hangout on my Mac if I can help it, because it's so much better on one of my Chrome OS devices.
Yeah, there might be something wrong with the camera.
Not doing all the other junk.
Stupid question. What's the difference between a Chromebox and a Chromebook?
The basic difference between a Chromebox and a Chromebook is the Chromebox doesn't have a screen or a keyboard.
Yeah.
It's a box.
So does it have more power, or
It's like
really?
the Mac. It's like the Mac Mini.
It doesn't really have more power. It has more ports. It's a different profile. That's about it. There's nothing terribly special. It's also like a year and a half old. It's not even a new device these days.
Just a real quick thing, because this is breaking, and this is a story that kind of freaked a lot of people out and outraged people. I just got this from the White House. The State Department has released a statement from the deputy spokesperson. We are pleased that Mr. Merrill Newman has been allowed to depart the DPRK, that's North Korea, to rejoin his family. We welcome the decision to release him. This positive decision throws into sharper relief the continuing detention of Mr. Kenneth Bay, another gentleman who's been there for a year, and they thank the government of Sweden for the tireless efforts of the embassy in Sweden and Pyongyang, which acts as our protecting power in the DPRK. So that's good news.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's on the top thing on Google News right now.
So there. Okay. So Alan, proceed. I apologize.
We've got a bunch of comments. Sarik thanked me for being honest. I mean, he's being honest about what he likes. Yes, he likes Apple devices. And for the record, I generally like Apple devices too. But let's face it, the time for Microsoft is over. They lost mobile, Windows 8 sucks, IE has always sucked, and MS Office is eroding.
Well,
I will say, I will give them props for Office 2013, which loads faster, works great, it looks great, everything, but it's not in the cloud, and it's way behind, and it's lacking.
Well, but that's what Office 365 is for, is their cloud-based stuff.
Still sucks.
And let's be honest, Drive Docs has a lot of issues still.
I think their issues are more design than.
It's functional, but it's still a good decade behind.
Not
Office.
that much. Come on.
Yeah, that much.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, the reason
Yeah.
I use my Chromebook or my Mac laptop, I have a nice, is because it takes so long to boot up. And it's constantly updating. It says updating this, bugs, everything's popping up. It drives my wife crazy. She doesn't want to ever use it because it's what should I say quit? Should I? Everything keeps popping up and saying, do you want to update this? Do you want not? Nothing like that happens on my Chromebook.
And that goes to Joshua's point. If you do tech support for your nationwide extended family of internet users, the Chromebook is a godsend. The very few problems have been solved by a 14-second power cycle. And I think 14 seconds is on the long side.
It's also important to note to what Harold was saying is that the Chromebook bears a lot of similarities to the Apple ecosystem in that Google controls it. They control the operating system itself. They control the updates. They control most of the apps, and the apps are filtered largely through Google's process. And so so you are going to get less annoying
Pop-ups.
crap than you would on a Windows machine, which is just a hacker's dream. That's been a criticism and a cause for praise for Apple for years, their closed system.
That's an interesting argument. You've got some merit there.
Yeah.
That's high
I would
praise
give
from
up
Alan.
my $1,000 Mac and keep my Chromebook if I had a choice between to take the two.
Finally, we've got this comment from Gerwin. I've been using my Chromebook as a main device for a couple of months now, only switching to a PC for some gaming and for work, which involves Windows development.
To be fair, he's probably referring to a Pixel, right?
I don't know if he's referring to a Pixel, which he got this year, or to the Chromebox, which he got last year.
But the quality, when you plug this Chrome
Just to
thing
be
into
fair,
my
'cause I haven't had the
27-inch
same
monitor,
experience.
it is so beautiful. It looks wonderful.
But I'll be honest, I mean, Michael, what did you say about the Pixel? Michael?
Can you not hear Harold?
Harold talked and then he stopped, and then it was your turn.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't know. I mean, if he's referring to a Pixel having a great experience, I mean, it has way more power, therefore the experience may be better. But for my case, I think every Chromebook I've used is underwhelming, underpowered, and that's why I don't use it. It's not fast enough for me.
See, I didn't find the Pixel particularly higher power than anything else.
Yeah, it's not amazing, but I mean, it's faster than the Chromebooks I've used.
Compared to my Chromebox, they're about the same performance. If anything, the Pixel might be slightly worse.
I've never used a Chromebox, so I can't call it that one.
I love my Chrome. My Chromebox, by the way, we will all remember, is what Dan referred to as ghetto a year and a half ago.
Your Chromebox or the Chromebook?
My Chromebox. I was sitting at SFO.
You were having some sort of issues, and I was trolling you. Guilty.
No, I was sitting at SFO, and I was unboxing all of the goodies from I/O 2012, and we were talking about the Chromebox, and you referred to it as a ghetto device, and you could not imagine why anybody would ever want to use it. My, how times have changed, Mr. McDermott.
No, I'm saying that I would not buy a Chromebook. I don't really have a need for it because I don't find a gap in between what I can do with my tablet, what I can do with my desktop computers and my laptop that I need to fill. But if I had 3 kids who are teens and they had, you know, 1 or 2 desktops available if they needed an application, but mainly they were on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or that would be mainly mobile, or they wanted to, you know, browse the web or check their email and stuff, a Chromebook would be a fine option. They wouldn't need a full-blown laptop. They've got the desktops available, but you don't need to buy each one of them you know, a fancy Windows machine. I mean, how many of them are going to be on Photoshop? How many of them have needs that are not met by online offerings? And when on the rare occasion they do, then there are resources available for them. It's a cost thing. I mean, look, a Windows Surface, how much is that? It's a hell of a lot more than $300. You know, for the price, a Chromebook is an excellent choice if you have a need that can be met by that. In my case, I have multiple. I mean, I have like 5 desktop computers. I have a laptop computer. I have a tablet. I have 3 cell phones. I don't need a Chromebook because I don't have a need that's unmet by those devices. If I find a need, I'll buy it. You know.
Right, and the discussion we had at the time was you were very dismissive about Chrome OS devices because, as you put it, you couldn't install Office on them.
No, not Office. I don't use Office.
You were saying Office.
No way. I use absolutely not. I don't. I haven't bought Office in over 10 years. I use OpenOffice. If someone sends me a doc or docx file, OpenOffice is fine. Although I admit some of our computers have Office on them, and I usually defer to OpenOffice. It's my choice. But I don't think I said that. I think I said InDesign.
You were talking generically about installing software, and this is actually a point that Sreek makes as well. He goes, not sure whether we can compare Chrome OS to Windows OS. Can we actually ever install an executable on a Chromebook? Or is that even technically possible, even if Google allows it?
John Jensen is calling me out here. Dan, you did Ghetto Box 2012.
You know, I'm going to have to pull up that video and pull out the excerpt just so we can, you know, instant replay it on these occasions. To answer Sreek's question, though, for starters, yes, you can install software on a Chrome OS device. Absolutely, you can install software on a Chrome OS device. You can't install Microsoft Word, and Google is working hard to make the offline and the installation experience better and better. It's still somewhat in its infancy, but you can absolutely do that today. There are some great examples of some fairly good software that can be installed offline and installed as part of installed on your device itself. To answer a couple of questions that we had, Joshua points out that the 14 seconds includes telling them where the power button is. And Gerwin did want to clarify that, yes, he does mean the Pixel, not the Chromebox in this particular case. We have a ton more comments that I just pulled out here. Michael Daniels asked if I'm using the Chromebook tonight for this hangout. No, I'm not using my Chromebook. I'm using my Chromebox, which is what the unit I got a year and a half ago, and I think it was 6 months older than even that. So this is not a new state-of-the-art device, and yet it works better than my Mac, which also I will admit is not a state-of-the-art device. But I've had far more luck getting this running and keeping it running than I do my Mac, which frustrates me on a daily basis, but which I like. I actually enjoy using my Mac far more than I enjoy using Windows devices.
Quick update.
And I use my Mac daily, routinely for work. It's my work machine.
Quick update. Merrill Newman, the elderly Korean war vet who was detained in North Korea, is in Beijing, according to a senior administration official.
Which is infinitely better than North Korea.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's going to work at a Foxconn factory making iPhones. Welcome to Foxconn. Oh, my God. Okay, sorry.
From Shriek, I stopped using MS Office for my personal purposes since Google Docs came out. I've never, ever missed it. I have had OpenOffice, which I think was Star Office before, and it wasn't nearly as good. John comments to Shriek, I think that Microsoft has ruined Office. It's become a scavenger hunt to find the right tools. I had a better experience with Word 2.0. And I think he's right on target there.
Your video's lost on my feed, Alan, so I'm just showing the comments on...
Why is my video lost on your feed?
I don't know if the others can see it, but I'm just getting your thumbnail. So I'm just showing the comments on my screen as you talk, so go ahead.
Okay. And I think it's a valid point. I think Microsoft put so much into Word that it's gotten horribly cluttered. And I'm glad that Google has not gone that far. That said, I think there are still issues with Google Docs, but they're constantly improving it, and I'm thrilled to see that they are constantly improving it. But the things that are lacking in it are sometimes really frustrating. I see Michael nodding in agreement there.
You think Google should continue to improve their product, or do you think they should just start doing troll videos about Microsoft products instead of improving their own?
I think Google, you know what, that's a really good question. A lot of people, no, it is. A lot of people have been saying, as all of this Google stuff comes out, that that Google needs to fire back, that they need to call Microsoft out, that they need to raise it, and I think it's so much to Google's credit that they've played the high road on this.
Well, frankly, there are use cases where a Windows laptop or a MacBook are superior to a Chromebook, and the reverse is true. We've highlighted both. The 3 kids example, who are mainly Facebook, email, that sort of thing. The Chromebook, for the price point, is superior to having to buy a full-blown Windows or MacBook laptop. And there are cases, like when I'm laying a newspaper out, where a laptop isn't even enough. I would want a desktop. If I was in the field doing video, like my TV reporter friends, they would prefer a MacBook or a fancy Windows laptop in the field. A Chromebook would not do. So there are use cases for all of these. And to sit there and say that, to trash the Chromebook by finding some guy who's, I can't use my proprietary architecture CAD software with the Chrome. Yeah, of course you can't. But they're not in the business of being, honest comparison. I mean, this is just stupid salesmanship. And the most disgusting thing about this is that Bill Gates runs around trying to cure the world of disease and be this wonderful humanitarian. But he sits on that freaking board. And I've never heard him criticize them for these stupid tactics.
Well, you're never going to hear somebody criticize their own company, at least not externally. We don't know what he's saying internally.
I think he has some influence.
Not if he wants to stay on the board.
He's chairman, isn't he?
That don't mean then his chairman can get kicked out too.
Well, I mean, the CEO of JCPenney learned that the chairman of the board has some influence.
Yeah, but the chairman
CEO
of the board is still subject to the whim of the people electing him. And if the recommendation committee doesn't put him up again for a seat, he's not going to get reelected.
Bill Gates
Anyway,
got where he was
politics.
by innovating and creating really cool products. He didn't do it by just, attacking people and putting out shitty products, which is what Steve Ballmer's legacy will be. How he's lasted as long as he had is beyond.
Okay, look at Eduardo Savin with Facebook. I mean, you can get kicked out the company just as easy as you can make it.
Some more comments. This one from Sarik. Following up on his previous question, Alan, if we go the way of having programs installed on Chrome OS, why would Chrome OS be any different from the current day Windows?
It's not now.
How will the coveted security, etc., be possible? Well, that's because Chrome OS has a concept of security, while Windows does not. Windows has this legacy that it has to carry with it that's 30 years old now. Chrome OS doesn't. Chrome OS was built with a sandbox. It was built to run things in a contained fashion. And honestly, it's built like a browser. So if it doesn't need access to your local file system, it doesn't get it. If it doesn't need access to your keyboard, except for what its normal routine use is, it doesn't get it. These are concepts that are not new, but Windows has been unable to apply them because Windows could never apply them.
Let me. We should probably move because we're an hour and a half in on a topic 3, I think. David Archer says regarding Microsoft Word, how else is Microsoft going to justify constantly reselling the same basic program? They have to tell us all about the millions spent in usability labs to justify putting the interface in a blender and making life hell for longtime users. Microsoft deserves to die for this because it's a model that no one ever wanted. Apple has done similar things with Final Cut. That is debatable. I know Craig Shipp, I guess he's left, right?
Yes.
Craig Shipp likes Final Cut Pro 10, but he was not, I think Final Cut Pro 7 was the one that the pros used, and they all hated it. There was major criticism. But I got to tell you, as much as I've trolled Apple in the past for some of their stuff, looking at that Mac Pro, not the MacBook, but the Mac Pro, that
the trash can.
That is the Death Star trash can thing. That is a beast of a machine. The idea you could have 3 4K monitors hooked up to the default, not souped up version, or 6 1080p monitors, and edit 4K video in real time. I mean, I would, for a 30-second 4K video, I would be able to, go on a weekend trip and come back and it might be done rendering. That's amazing. That's a beast of a machine. But you pay a premium for it. And you could probably build a similar Windows type machine for less. I'm sure you could. It's
You probably couldn't.
Maybe you couldn't, yeah. Zach says the biggest problem with the Chromebook is the American consumer has a really tough time admitting that they don't need the most powerful piece of tech that they can afford. Angelocracy says if you put Ubuntu Linux on a Chromebook, you can then do everything you can do on a Windows computer. That may be true, but I don't think that's a solution for the masses. John says, I have the answer. Google needs to provide tools that users can add to the Google Docs to customize it and make it easy to find and obvious as to how to do it.
And we're seeing that more and more, John. We are seeing that with things like Google Apps Script. We are seeing as an integral part of Drive that you can have other applications running through Drive that, again, don't necessarily need to be installed on your machine, but they're installed. So it's clever. It's installing software in the cloud. That's a pretty cool concept.
My mom, I swear to God, at Thanksgiving, she said, Dan, she asks me this every year or two.
When are you going to get a nice girl and settle down? No, wait.
She says, what is the cloud? Explain. And I said, well, you use email. That's the cloud. And I explained it to her. But it's interesting how some folks, my parents are awesome. They're funny and she's drinking her wine. She's 75 and they're in great shape and it's just awesome. When your dad's 75 and in better shape than you are, it's disturbing. We
have this question from AJ who asked me, do you need a standalone computer to use glass? And can you use the Chromebox to fill the need for a computer with glass? That's actually a complicated answer. The glass is its own device. You don't need anything really to use glass. It helps to set it up the first time, and it helps if you want to add software. You need either a laptop you need a computer, either a phone or a desktop laptop, but beyond doing that, it doesn't really need it. It helps if you want to transfer specific pictures off. You need to be able to plug it into something, but otherwise it'll just sync its photos to Google Plus in the cloud automatically without you paying attention while you sleep. So for the most part, no, you don't. Occasionally you do, and for that, most of the time the Chromebook and Chromebox will meet that need fine, but so will my phone. There are rare, very, very rare occasions where it wouldn't be enough, and I need to plug it into my Mac.
Sarik asks, just to I point this out every once in a while, that we do love the live comments, and we've had the peak was 28 viewers so far tonight. That's not bad. Please keep the comments going. We can tell the comments are awesome, and they're a big part of the show. And because we really
as you can tell, since we've been quoting you guys all night,
right?
Because otherwise you would have no idea that we actually read your comments.
Now, last week I neglected that because I was literally in such a freaking panic, trying to not screw everything up because I was doing it solo, that I wasn't good with the comments last week. But I did okay for literally a one-man band last week. Sarik asked how I'm able to put the comments live on the screen. I'll just do a quick 15-second thing. I have this screen. Excuse me, that's the YouTube thing. This screen here. This is on the right. You see the streaming program that's making the YouTube live video. Here you see the YouTube interface, right? I'm still streaming there. And then I just have Gerwin's awesome comment tracker, the standalone app, on the screen. And I'm just literally capturing this portion of the window in the middle column there. And I'm taking that and I'm using chroma key with white as the color to delete. And so it's literally just capturing that part of the screen and superimposing it on my screen here, and it works great. And so if another comment came, I mean, I can scroll up and down, right? So and Sai, I see is these Android guys. Well, you talk about when you say the wrong thing and they get pissed off. Sai says Ubuntu is a solution for the masses, punk. So I stand corrected, Sai. I apologize. And AJ says I'm a PC versus I'm a Mac. PC is still here, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Go South Park, Black Friday edition, Sony versus Xbox is hilarious. So anyway, all right. Well, can we move?
Well, I guess so.
Unless you have more,
Nope, go for it.
We could talk about Coca-Cola and Mickey Mouse products. Okay, so anyway, just as a bonus, at the very end, I'm going to do like a 1-minute quick thing. I'm going to demo this. This is my new field teleprompter. I want to show you guys. So we're going to really do a good in-depth thing on Monday, on our Android week, Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, when I'm going to actually probably assemble this as my recommended app of the week, because you can assemble it in about 2 minutes from scratch. It's incredible. Really neat device. And I'm trying not to drop it.
We don't believe you for a minute that you can only take 2 minutes to do anything.
I can pee in 2 minutes. I do it about. I demo that about 8 times a show.
We don't believe that at all.
Okay, so our next thrilling topic number 2. Next up is Oracle versus Google. Alan is the expert on this. He's coming from a developer perspective. And is Pam still here?
Yes, Pam is still here.
Okay, I'd like to get her perspective on this because she comes from a big corporation that probably has a bunch of patents. And I'd love to get her perspective if she could apply her perspective to this case. But this is about...
that will require her to read the story quickly.
Well, that's why you're going to go first, Alan. As Alan as Pam becomes a sudden expert, because Pam is a smart cookie. But Oracle sued Google, and the last round, the judge said you can't patent an API. And now it's on appeal, and this is about the use of Java in the development of Android.
Let me stop you for a second. Dan, before we get too far in.
Maybe you should stop me for several minutes because I really don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I think I'm probably going to say things that are incorrect, and maybe you can intro this better than I can. Because
that you probably need to go pee. But it started out as a fairly complex case. it wasn't just a patent case, and that was part of what I'll point out that Dan has now stepped off camera.
I was
You think I
putting
was
my
kidding?
teleprompter back.
It started out, part of the case was a patent case where Oracle was suing based on patent reasons, but they were also suing for copyright reasons. They were saying that what Google did in creating Android, in creating the virtual machine that runs on Android that runs Java, in doing that they violated Oracle's copyrights as well as Oracle's patents. In the case, the patent part got thrown out, and Oracle is not appealing the patent part.
Also, to be clear, didn't they buy it, right? And they sued that year. They didn't innovate it. They purchased it, and then they sued Google for violating, quote unquote, their copyright because they owned it. But it's not like they wrote it's not like J.K. Rowling suing someone for fan fiction. I mean, they didn't create this. They purchased it. Not that that is necessarily relevant in the court of law. I just want to put it in perspective.
They purchased they purchased the entire company. Java was created by Sun Microsystems, and Oracle essentially swallowed Sun Microsystems, whatever was left of them, which was basically Java at this point. So yeah, I mean, we could easily well say that Sun Microsystems was suing Google, and it wouldn't technically make too much difference. When looking at the copyright part, one of Google's defenses was, yes, they took kind of the overall structure. They took what are known as the API calls. So these are, you can kind of think of them as well-known names, well-known addresses that you use to do certain things. So if I want to, and this is a bad example, so I'm just using it purely as an example. If I wanted to do something like print a line of text out on the screen, there is a certain API call that's known by a certain name. And in creating their version of Java, Google used the exact same name. Oracle is saying that's copying us. If you copy our API, that's part of our copyright. Google's defense was basically, no, we're using that in terms of fair use. We're not copying the whole thing because we rewrote the rest of it. All of the code, all of the stuff that actually does something, we had to rewrite. And we did, with the exception of about 9 lines, which the judge said basically, that's 9 lines. Get real. But in using these same names, just because we use the same names doesn't mean that we're copying you. The ruling basically was a slam dunk for Google. On appeal, there's some question about whether the appellate judges buy this argument. There's been no ruling yet, there's been no decision, but the appellate judges are sounding dubious, let's say. Do you have any thoughts on this, Michael, before I ask Pam if she's done reading yet?
Sure. One thing, the judge, she was more technically savvy, and probably these appellate court judges probably really aren't. And I mean, to simplify the whole thing, I mean, sounds like I would fair to say Oracle's making rice, plain rice. I mean, they make it a certain way. It's not a secret how they do it. I mean, they do it. And Google makes Android, which is in effect jambalaya, but I mean, they had a whole bunch of other stuff on there. But I mean, at the base, they had to make the rice first before they added the meat and all the other stuff in there.
I really like that analogy. That's a good analogy.
I like food.
So Pam, you still with us? I now have her profile picture. I don't have her video stream anymore, so
I was talking to my kid, sorry.
Oh, okay. Not a problem. Just didn't know if we'd lost you. So, any thoughts on this case, Pam?
You know, I think you know, if I was a judge, I might side with Oracle on this one.
Okay, why? Wow. I'm not disagreeing with you. I want to know the reasoning.
So, because Oracle bought Sun Microsystems, they basically purchased all of their IP, their intellectual property as well. Mm-hmm. And if Google copied something that they had patented, and then commercialized on it, then that is a violation. And if they're not going to pay Oracle some kind of royalty for that, then you know, that's definitely, you know, an area that a judge might decide that Google owes Oracle some money, at least, at the very least, you know.
Here's the thing, though. We're not talking about patents. The patent case was ruled. They lost the patent case and they're not appealing it.
You're talking about a process.
What was that, Michael?
It's more. I mean, when this case was, you know, live, it's more of copying a process of doing something. It's not even intellectual property. It's just a way of doing something, more like steps or a recipe.
Well, but aren't recipe books copyrightable?
The issue is that how can you? There's a lot of gray area when it comes to software. I mean,
well, and
yeah,
that's a huge problem. That there is a lot of gray area when it comes to software, because if I'm writing in a specific language or trying to complete a task using a specific language, there really is one elegant way of doing it. And if I happen to write the same code that someone else at another company came up with, because that's the elegant way to do it, I mean, do I really own that code? I mean, you know what I mean?
And that's the thing here.
That's part of it, but that's
hey,
actually
real quick, Michael, just let me weigh that before you proceed. What on the recipe book analogy? I think it's you can't copyright a recipe.
Not the book, not the whole book. No,
the whole
no,
book you can copyright.
No,
but you
not the
can't.
book.
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
If
not
you
the
shared like, hey, I just saw Martha Stewart's recipe for whatever, and you shared that, or this is my if you did a YouTube video.
But isn't
not
that
the whole book's recipes, but if you took one recipe and showed the recipe, that's a fine.
If you're going to take Martha Stewart's recipe and then serve it in a restaurant and make money off of it, that might be a different problem.
You're killing me. Not the book. It's the process. I go back to the rice. It's like making rice. They added the other part to it, but I mean, there's not that many ways you can make rice. Who gets royalties off of rice?
That's what I'm saying about the software. There, you know, if you're using a specific language to write a piece of code to perform a specific task, there might only be one elegant way of doing it in that language, and you can patent that.
Here's the thing, Pam. That's actually there's a lot of case law about how to deal with that issue. And if you essentially create a team that you make sure has never seen and does never see the original source code, and that they have engineered it by themselves on their own, then you're in the clear. And there's been a lot of case about how to do this, so that I'm pretty sure anybody at this point who wants to reverse engineer something can do it right and do it safely. I've got no doubts that they did that. And I don't think that's even really been challenged. There was a challenge that there were, I think, about 9 lines of code that were identical between the two. And the judge, who is, as Michael noted, was tech savvy, essentially looked at that and said, you're comparing 2 numbers here. There's a finite number of ways that you can compare 2 numbers, and that's not copyrightable by itself. So, yeah, when you're talking thousands or millions of lines of code, sometimes there are only, similar ways of doing things, but you're going to be able to see the differences still. And I think Google in this case proved, yes, there are differences.
So let me ask you a question, Alan.
Yep.
Personal opinion, okay? Not anything else.
Yep.
Do you think someone at Google read this code and looked at ways of maybe making it work for them?
No.
So you don't think they looked at it at all? You think they came up all by themselves?
Yeah. But, and here's the caveat, What I do believe that they did was that they were given the API specification, and that they wrote to that API specification.
So do you think that that's one of the reasons why Google keeps their APIs secret?
They don't really keep all of their APIs secret. There are plenty of APIs that are open.
There's only a certain way you can do an API call. I mean, there's only ways you can use APIs. They're all the same, fundamentally implemented the same basic ways. It's just what you permit to be used or permit to be seen. I mean, stuff like that. But they all work the same.
Well, but the question that got before the court was, is an API, is a list of callable methods copyrightable?
Yes. Which I say no.
You know what? They're saying, the courts are saying that genes are patentable. You know, and no one made those except nature, right? So why isn't software patentable?
Why aren't letters patentable?
Software is patentable. It's just that they said in this case it was not.
Can I ask y'all a stupid question that's not so stupid?
Well, if it's coming from you, Dan.
Hey, I have a track record.
You gave me the...
I have a reputation to uphold. Okay, so this is absurd, but not really. Let's say you invented the deep-fried Twinkie. You came up with the idea. And you go to the whatever fair. Pam goes to the Menifee County Fair and sells her, and there's a line wrapped around the freaking thing. Oh my God, deep fried Twinkies, right? I'm going to hate myself in the morning. And it was your innovation. Then you see the next season, some other guy's selling it right across from you, and he's selling it for $2 and you're selling it for $3.
No. What about deep fried zebra cakes? You're still deep frying the process.
Deep fried Kit Kats. Now that should definitely be patentable. But what do you, seriously, should you be able to sue the guy? He is definitely impact. I mean, if you talk about like fair use or that kind of stuff, one of the tests is, are you depriving the creator of revenue? That's one of the tests. Are you directly competing with them and depriving them revenue? And is that fair use, right?
Well,
the word fair.
Well,
what do you think?
Dan, like Alan said, the patent part was thrown out. So why are we debating this?
I'm craving
just because you want
Twinkies.
to. So that depends. Did the guy who deep fried the first Twinkie, did he patent his process for deep frying a Twinkie? You know what I mean?
Well,
if he didn't, then
here's where it gets even better. I can then say, as the owner of the Twinkie, that you're now creating a derived product from my product, and since I'm not authorizing you to do that, you're violating my patent on a Twinkie.
And that's the issue. What is not that they copied a Twinkie, is that they deep fried a zebra cake instead of a Twinkie.
At
Which
any rate,
does not fall under the same thing, copyright.
Right. So the in this particular case, and I'm still trying to think of a good analogy that to what Google has essentially done. It's sort of like this. Let's say you have a book, and it has chapters, and each chapter has a title to the chapter. If somebody comes along and writes their own book with the same chapter titles, but the chapter contents themselves are completely different, have they copied your book? And if they have copied your book, have they copied it in a fair use manner?
Okay, I like that. I almost like that analogy.
Yeah, it's not perfect. There are a lot of holes in it.
Same layout, but not the same name. But yeah, I understand. I understand. Like if you made a book with 10 chapters in it, and the book has 10 chapters, and the next one had 20. So and then the next person comes out, different chapter names, but 10 chapters and 20 chapters.
Well,
the same number of pages.
Yeah.
Same number of things.
Okay.
But different content. Same structure, but different content.
How
structure
close? How close is it?
Not at all close.
How close is Oracle's product to the Android product?
What, 9 lines out of what, 250?
Well, here's the thing. In terms of the code itself, totally different.
In terms of functionality, similar.
In terms of functionality, identical.
Got it.
And the way they ensured the functionality is that the names of things are the same names. So if I wanted to add 2 numbers, I would be able to add 2 numbers the exact same way in Oracle's Java and in Android's Java. It's the same, the plus sign is the same plus sign. I'm stretching the analogy a little bit, but it's that sort of thing. If I want to create a list of numbers and sort them, the command, me as a programmer, if I want to do that as a programmer, not in, I would use the exact same method to do that if I was using Oracle's Java or if I was using Android's Java. Now, how it did that addition and how it did that list sorting, I don't care as a programmer. Oracle may have done it one way, Android may have done it another way. One may be better than the other, one may be faster, one may use less memory. That's irrelevant. They are presumably totally different ways of doing the exact same thing. All that I'm concerned about as a outside developer is A, that I can do it, B, the name, the way that I call them is the exact same way. And what Oracle is saying is that since the way that you call it, the way that you do one of these methods as an outside programmer, those names are copyrighted. And Google's position is, A, they're not copyrighted, B, even if they were copyrighted, we should be allowed to use them under fair use. That's the argument.
Okay.
What's the risk for Google if it goes wrong for them? Is it
devastating?
Could they fix it for future to avoid paying ongoing royalties, or would they? And just their biggest liability would be some sort of back payment, or
no? The problem is that we're talking about names, and Oracle's position is you can't use our names. And that would mean that there are thousands upon thousands of lines of code that need name changes and nothing else.
Now, if they would have won the patent one, if they would have won that one, that would have been catastrophic to Android.
Yeah, that would have been horrible.
So why did they use the same names?
Because me as an outside programmer, if I am programming something for Java, I want to use the same names. I don't want to have to, if I'm sorting a list, I don't want to have to call list.sort when I'm using Oracle's language, and sortable list.dosort when I'm calling
just meaningful, relevant
Android
identifiers so you don't mess up.
Right.
So you can keep it in your head. That's one of the most important things in programming is using meaningful identifiers, especially if you have multiple people looking at the same code. And you yourself are a second party when you look at code you wrote 6 months ago.
I'm impressed, Dan. I'm impressed.
I've got to say, we've got some really awesome.
But the worst sin, Michael, and then I'll shut up.
Through.
The worst saying as a 1990s developer, the worst sin of all is duplicate data entry. That's even worse than bad identifiers. Go ahead, Alan.
We've got some really awesome comments, and I'm not going to quote all of them, but some of these are really making me laugh, guys. So you're doing a great job out there. I do want to point out one thing, that Gregory had a great comment a while back, and he's correct. Sun Microsystems sued Microsoft a number of years back, when, although the reasons for the suit were a little different. Back then, and this was in the earliest days of Java. This is back in '97, I think. I'd have to look up the exact date of the case. But it was back then. Microsoft and Sun came to an agreement that Microsoft would implement the Windows version of Java to Sun's specification. And Microsoft did that, and they refused to implement some parts of it, and they added their own capabilities to some parts of it. And there was a big suit where Sun basically said, you didn't implement Java. You implemented something else that looked almost like Java, but you didn't implement Java under the terms of our agreement. I'd point out that Microsoft lost that suit. And it was a contract agreement suit, not a copyright or a patent suit. So it's not directly comparable. But basically, that was where there's a little bit of precedent there in saying that if you're going to call it Java, you need to implement these APIs. You need to implement these things by this name. And here's Oracle now saying the exact opposite. So that's a great point that Gregory made, and it does have some impact on the current case, I think. I saw you nodding there for a while, Michael. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I took C#. I took C# and I took Java, so I mean, they're freaking close. They're freaking similar.
They're very close, but the reason why C# is C# and not Java is because Microsoft went and invented their own language.
Yep.
And while there are similarities between the two, there are differences.
Yeah.
And some of them are technical differences, and some of them are just naming differences.
Agreed.
Now that you've discussed the merits, what's your prediction on the case? Pam, do you have a prediction? Alan? Michael?
I think Google's going to win.
I hope Google wins. Because if they don't, it's going to set a terrible precedent, and I envision more law coming later.
Okay, guys, I need to I need to post this nice disclaimer from Andrew here, where he rants in Firstenberg fashion. Google did not write Android.
Yet they bought them, therefore they're liable for anything that Android has and happens.
Exactly. I mean, Android is essentially, everything that was is now a part of Google, so we can essentially say that, yes. Let's put it this way. Google wrote Android in the same way that Oracle wrote Java.
Exactly.
Two rich companies buying other stuff and celebrating the pros and cons of that decision.
I'll have you know that from the comment discussion, I really want some deep fried Twinkies right now. I really do. Instead, I may have to go and eat this wonderful red velvet cake that I've got sitting in the other room instead.
Red velvet cake?
Yeah, really good red velvet cake from Zaro's.
I don't think I've seen you on a sugar high.
Gregory Lewis.
By the way, Alan,
Yeah.
I make the most fantastic red velvet cake with this frosting that you cook. Oh, it's so good.
Next time I'm out there. Yeah. So Gregory points out he thinks that Google is going to lose the Java case, like Microsoft lost the case a bunch of years ago. Maybe, but I think the cases are different, and the biggest reason why is the Microsoft Sun case was fundamentally a contract dispute case, whether Microsoft had violated the contract or not. And I think for the same reasons that Microsoft lost it then is why Google may win it this time. Maybe not. Well, Google did win it, at least the first round. We'll see where it goes on appeal.
And even that, I mean, they've already started making their own runtime, so I mean, it's only a matter. It's not even
right. But here's the thing: the runtime isn't part of the runtime is part of the patent issue.
Yeah. I'm saying for future, it's not a big issue if they lose too much. As far as out here in the field with the device, there's not too much of an impact.
Let's put it this way: I think the reason why they went with Java to begin with is because they wanted to get it out there faster, and they wanted to appeal to programmers who are already used to Java.
Yep.
I think at this point, if they switched to some other language, it would not be devastating.
Not to another language, making it's sort of doing what they should have changed the first time to be totally in the clear. Like those certain name changes and certain processes, but doing
right. But the reason why they didn't was because they wanted to appeal to Java programmers. I think at this stage, the only the number of people who program for Java that don't program for Android is rapidly dwindling.
Mission accomplished. They've appealed to them.
Yeah, so they've already got them on board, and now that they have them on board, they can, if they needed to, change the language.
I don't think they'll change the language, just the little issue.
The API.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think if they did that, I think they would go whole hog and change the language and get rid of some of the problems that are in Java.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Well, I'm saying that if they're forced to do so, I think they will.
Oh yeah, if they're of course.
And I think they're in a good enough position where they can.
Yeah, agreed.
Street comments, he's going to be very careful from now on sharing Pam's post. The last thing he wants is Playboy suing me.
Okay. So the next topic is equally elusive to me as far as trying to explain it. I know that...
I forgot to put in I meant to insert another patent topic here, but go ahead, Dan.
Do you want to do that?
No, because I need to find it. I'm not going to find it fast enough.
Okay, I could sing for a moment, but I don't want another copyright strike. So Google is making a big play in what analysts are calling a shot at Amazon Web Services. And I looked at it, and I know it's great for app developers, that sort of thing. But I'm guessing, and I'll ask Michael first, since Alan's finding that link, and then Alan after that. But I'm guessing that this is not designed for Harold to easily set up his next WordPress Navajo blog. This is a cloud-based, I don't even know how to describe it. Can you describe it for us and tell us what you think, Michael?
Yeah, it's not probably aimed for Harold yet. He can use it still the same, but I mean, they've been pushing compute for, pretty much the whole year from what I've seen.
But what's changed? What's the new thing here?
Well, the new thing is just, other than the general improvements, I think it's geared more to the enterprises and all the different services like Netflix and stuff. Because right now they use Amazon Web Services to scale to like massive and massive amounts of numbers. And it's basically an engine that allows you to scale more with crazy amounts of traffic and crazy amount of data that comes in and out. And they basically opened it up so anyone can basically use it and use up the bandwidth. Because from what I've seen, it scales very well, where you can go to like 0 to 1,000, I think, nodes like in 3 minutes, something like that. It's a crazy amount. But I mean, they've been pushing this all year, and it was a big talking point with the Chrome Summit as well.
I know that Amazon Web Services and Google both have a tremendous backbone, and
infrastructure. Yeah.
So now they're both, I guess this is clearly follow the leader, because Amazon's the leader now. They host a bunch of services, Netflix being one, the most prominent example. And I know that when Amazon goes down, all of us, you'll usually discover that, your Netflix doesn't work, and then your other thing doesn't work, and this doesn't work, and all these services are simultaneously going down because they're all hosted on AWS.
What's interesting, I'm interested to see is what the big ploy to get these big businesses to switch. That's what I'm interested in seeing, and how they market it. Because right now, no one really knows about it.
Well, if they, can you imagine what Netflix pays Amazon every year? If Google came in with a more price competitive option, and they knew that price was locked in long term, that'd be very tempting, wouldn't it?
I mean, transferring it, that would be a nightmare too. I wouldn't want to transfer that over, but sure.
Yeah, but if you could save $1 billion a year, it might be worth, hiring some geeks to. But yeah, I agree with you. For the small player, I don't think they're going to switch, because moving's a hassle.
They're probably the better ones to switch, because if you're small enough, it's free for you. I think if you're under 25,000 users or something like that, it's free for you up until you get to a certain number of traffic and users.
Does Amazon have a similarly attractive entry level?
I don't believe so. I've used Amazon services, and there's a lot of pay options in there.
My
I think it's
understanding.
free for,
Go
huh?
ahead, Alan.
My understanding is that they both have pay options right off the bat, and they're both very similar. So it's fairly cheap, and both of them you can get large credits if you want. For the record, if anybody wants a few $1,000s in cloud service credit, give me a call.
I know computer's free. So
Yeah, but there are very low level free tiers to basically hook you in and get you started and get you on your way. And then after that, the tiers are reasonably priced for what they're offering.
Are there other players, or is this a field dominated by Amazon in terms of quality and price? That
It's a field dominated by Amazon, but there are other players. Oracle is a player. Rackspace is a player. There's this company. What's their name? Starts with an M.
Yeah, they're in Washington, that little state in the Northwest.
Yeah, them. They've got a Microsoft. That's it. They've got a product called Adger, which is the same sort of thing.
So, how significant is this?
Is Google's play into this space?
Yeah. What do you think?
could be
Pretty
big.
significant.
Could be, yeah.
Is there? I assume it's like dog eat dog competitive in terms of pricing and offerings, because I know we've seen Google drop their prices, and then Amazon drops their prices, and then so obviously it's, from your standpoint as developers, the more the merrier, because then they're aggressively competing with each other, and you guys benefit.
The problem is
at a more competitive price.
The problem is when you're building something out, you're not just competing on price. If you've already got something that's working under AWS, converting it to run on Google may not be a trivial operation. And if you're deeply, deeply tied into all of the rest of the AWS services or the Amazon services,
Merchant, yeah.
Merchant tie-ins, Elastic Beanstalk, there's a lot of stuff that Amazon is offering. And if you're deeply tied into that, you may not be able to untangle yourself.
Clearly, the biggest advantage to Netflix would be if they offer a much more price competitive situation at Google,
Netflix?
or try to woo them, then Netflix could use that to leverage for a better deal at Amazon.
Dan, why do you keep saying Netflix?
As an end user.
Oh, as an end user, okay.
No,
yes.
you said like switching will be a hassle because they're entrenched in that ecosystem. I said the way that a company like Netflix could use this to their advantage would be to negotiate, at price negotiation time, because they're probably their biggest. I'm sure they're the biggest customer of Amazon Web Services by far, probably bigger than all the others combined.
I believe they're, if not the biggest, certainly one of the biggest.
Yeah, so they could certainly. I mean, probably the advantage for them is at contract negotiation time. They can say, well, we could always switch to Google. Why don't you give us a better deal? Because I can't see them rewriting everything for some service that is unproven
but here's the thing.
terms of compared to Google.
Here's the thing. Amazon can easily turn around and say, go ahead and leave. We know what your fixed costs are going to be to rewrite everything, and it's more than we're going to be cutting you a discount for. So, bye.
Well, but Bezos is crazy. I mean, he just bought a newspaper, so.
Bezos is crazy, but he's crazy because he plays
ledge.
hardball.
Yeah.
He knows how to play hardball.
So is this yet another player, or is this, oh my God, big news? How should the consumer, or just the consumer of news, tech news, read this?
Well, let's put it this way. I heard this. I had people asking me questions about it, and these are they're tech people, but they were didn't know about it, and they were interested in hearing more. I heard reports of this on the news, like the public news, not tech news. So it's out there. It's big, and there are people who, even if they're not deep techie people, this means something to them. So it's something to pay attention to.
Also, it creates freelance jobs because geeky guys like you and Michael suddenly get phone calls to appear on CNN because the reporters don't have a freaking clue how to explain this accurately.
I'll tell you my Japanese TV story later on. And Oleg has joined us. Good evening, Oleg.
Excellent.
You're muted.
Good evening.
And I didn't mute you. I just want that known for the record.
Oleg, welcome. It's been a while. Good to have you with
Hello,
us again.
thank you.
I know you've had a busy night. The weather must be bad. Or is it just because it's Friday?
It's about 25 degrees. It's not that bad. Everybody in Seattle is dying because they've never seen it so cold, which is ridiculous. But, you know, it's 25. It's not so bad.
When it hits in the 20s in Seattle, I'm sure they have ambulances stationed, you know, in each cul-de-sac. Just in case.
No, when it rains in Seattle, when it's, you know, anything like this, after a short while, like the snow, everybody freaks out immediately. So.
Awesome. Well, our current topic is, and you're a developer. Why don't you start by just saying how you've been, and then if you want to offer your thoughts on Google's latest offering, which is being billed as you know, threatening to Amazon Web Services. Any thoughts you might have on that story that came out? Because you, of course, develop software that enables restaurants to offer home delivery of their products and generate a whole new revenue stream for existing restaurants in the Kirkland, Washington area.
Yeah, I'm actually working right now on a mobile version that you'll be able to use with, you know, cell phones and tablets to order. So that's the newest thing I'm working on. But no, I think it's actually, I don't mean, wasn't Alan speaking? I don't mean to interrupt anybody. Alan?
Go ahead, Oleg. I'm always speaking around here, so.
I'm sorry?
Go for it, Oleg.
Okay. Anyway, I was just going to say that the thing that really irked me today was the Microsoft Chromebook deal. And that's really irritated me to no end, to be honest. But on the Google Engine thing, yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's a natural evolution for them to do something like that. And I've had a number of clients who have been, you know, semi-disappointed with hosting companies they use for their websites. And one in particular, it's a real estate, asked me what I thought about moving to Amazon Web Services instead. And so there's people who are out there who are looking for alternative solutions, and obviously Google is in phenomenal position to provide these kind of services, especially considering the fact that they're providing it at the level of service like they do for all their other services. So from that standpoint, can't get too much better than this in terms of running your own serious application or running your business on something that's going to be reliable, and uptime on it is going to be, I don't know, Alan, do you know whether is it going to be 99.9%? Like
they're promising 99.95.
How much?
99.95.
Yeah, I don't see how you can get much better than this. So
well, you know, once upon a time, 5 nines used to be the golden standard, but you know, 99, you know, it's still very good, and if it's a real service level agreement, that's impressive stuff.
Yeah. And so the thing becomes, I guess, the question becomes in terms of the tools, what they're going to do in terms of tools to enable people to. I mean, Microsoft certainly has a history of offering development tools for their little world. And so the question becomes, you know, what's Google going to come up with in terms of having something similar in terms of development tools? If they're going to come up with some sort of Visual Studio-like development platform for developing on their infrastructure.
Well, I think in this case they're taking the same route that Amazon went, and they said, you know, hey, run any one of a bunch of industry standard stuff. You know, we've partnered with other companies who will understand us and will give you those sorts of tools. So, you know, you're seeing integration with Cloud9's product, for example. It wouldn't surprise me if both IntelliJ and Eclipse had stuff that will let you deploy to cloud services, just like they let you deploy to App Engine right now. So I don't think you're going to see it directly from Google itself, but they're working hard with partners to come out with the same things, just like Amazon is. You know, it's clear they're taking their cue from Amazon in this case.
I'm
sorry, repeat, Oleg?
No, I was just going to say one of the things I didn't like when I looked into Amazon about a year and a half ago was that the website that they had that described what you're getting and how you're getting it was confusing, to put it mildly. And so there just wasn't, one of the things that I thought that they could definitely improve was to just, put the information out there, specifically exactly what the steps involved in getting somebody on there, how much it's going to cost, all of that. But it was very vague and, threw you into all kinds of different directions without really giving you a good, clear, concise picture of exactly what's involved in terms of time, effort, money, that kind of stuff. So hopefully Google will do, I haven't looked at their deal in terms of details yet, but hopefully they'll do a better job than Amazon did.
We're losing your audio, Oleg. At least I am.
And use their stuff as easily as they currently have for other services.
Yeah, I agree. The devil's going to be in the details. It will really be interesting to see just how well a person who's never done anything with it before can get up and running. And I'm kind of interested in trying that this weekend, maybe next weekend. But,
Excellent.
But soon I want to give it a try.
The famous story about this is that Amazon built up the infrastructure to sell products on the web, and then discovered that they had a pretty good infrastructure, and said, well, why don't we sell this to other companies? And then Google, of course, is doing the same thing. Is it truly the same infrastructure? Because that is a big selling point. If you're just a traditional rack server place, then if you go down for an hour, then a small percentage of your customers will call to demand a refund of $8 for that hour for the monthly fee. But if you're Google and Amazon, if truly your technologies are tied to your actual product, these companies probably make millions of dollars a second. So they have a big vested interest in not going down. They're very reliable. If Amazon went down for 5 minutes, God knows how much that would cost them. Same thing with Google. So that is a big selling point to me to say that these companies have a vested interest in being reliable if it truly is the same, backbone tier or whatever you call it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. That's
These
a lower
days,
third,
Amazon makes more money. These days, Amazon makes more money from selling their computing services than they do by selling products.
Gross or net?
Gross. Actually, net.
Yeah, because net, they're not making any money. They're still a favorite stock, though.
I think it's a little different, though, Dan. First of all, Amazon have had a number of hiccups, more so than Google had in the past. So that's, they definitely have had situations when they were down. A bunch of services were disrupted because of that, in terms of their, infrastructure deal. But the difference is that Amazon was a shopping destination that turned into a provider of application space. Google is the other way around. They're a provider of application space, and they have been in this business for a while, not necessarily with App Engine the way they're doing it now, but I'm just saying they build their infrastructure, everything else, and now they're getting their shopping deal geared much, much more so, much more vehemently, if you will. So it's not exactly the same thing, because you have Amazon coming from a shopping site into delivery of online services for other sites, and you have Google is the opposite effect. They're going to shopping much, much more now in terms of providing shopping experience, but they actually have had the infrastructure all this time for this other stuff. So it's kind of actually the opposites. They're similar, but they're coming from different directions.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this before we go to robots and drones?
You mean like Amazon drones?
Yeah. Like Amazon drones. That's the segue, all right.
So 60 Minutes Sunday had an interview, a really good interview. I highly recommend it. I don't know what the overseas, because we have a large overseas audience, not just U.S., but in the U.S. you can go to the cbsnews.com and then click on at the top 60 Minutes and you can find it. But they did a really interesting behind-the-scenes sneak peek at Amazon.com and basically a guided tour with Jeff Bezos about how they work. And it was fascinating, the technology that they employ. And I am a huge, I know Pam was asking, should she get Amazon Prime? And it's the best and the worst decision you could possibly make. It's the best decision because you could just, you know, click and buy something so easily. And it's the worst decision because you will do that often. And you'll end up spending all this money buying these products and getting them the next day or the day after that. It's a fantastic service. They've revolutionized retail. But the in the video, the thing that got all the attention was that he did a demo of basically a octocopter. We've seen quadcopters, but they had one with I guess redundant engines. So if one engine went out, you know, it wouldn't crash in somebody's head, which could possibly generate a negative PR for the company. And then I saw all these stories bashing them. One really funny and witty critic is John C. Dvorak, a great guy, and he was just saying that this is just absolute nonsense, never going to happen. And then I saw these things, you know, what about the, you know, how many, they talked about like killing birds and the birds attacking, because if you look up bird attacks drone or bird attacks RC helicopter, whatever, RC plane, you'll find lots of YouTube videos where these hawks get out there. And I live in the wilderness here, so I see this all the time. These are aggressive birds if you get too close, so they'll just go after you. They don't know what it is, and they'll just attack it and down you. They don't care. And then, so that kind of stole the thunder. But anyway, the second part of this is Google. There was a story about that they're working on delivery of product via their driverless car technology or some sort of thing that drives on the existing roadways as opposed to flying. And they thought that I've seen some reviews that said that seems like a much more practical approach. So wherever you guys want to begin, what do you think about the idea of Amazon flying something to you within a 10-mile radius in 30 minutes or less? Because that is the key advantage that big box and small retail, physical placed retail has, is that you can drive there and get it right now. And when I wanted my Logitech C920, I went to a Best Buy because they had the same price Amazon did, and I spent the gas money and drove out there because I wanted it right away. But the often online is cheaper, but you have to wait. So if they can conquer that barrier of same day and especially rapid same day delivery, then there's really that's a much more competitive position against the times that you find retail to be better. And also opens up new segments, like Bezos said, you know, milk and eggs and stuff. I'm trying to imagine a gallon of milk in a helicopter.
So Jason Salas has just joined us. Jason, what are your thoughts on aerial drone delivery of eggs?
Hey everybody! Of course, now I won't be able to avail of of Amazon's wonderful drones. One, because they don't exist at the moment, and two, I doubt that even in 5 years, by 2015, like the genius that Jeff Bezos is, I doubt that being 1,500 miles away from you guys in San Diego is the closest U.S. city I'm close to that the drones will have the range. But I must say that the fact that, and it's no big secret that the fact that Jeff Bezos did this exclusive piece with Charlie Rose of CBS on 60 Minutes on November 30th on a Sunday night, right before Cyber Monday, was the PR event of the year. That was unbelievably smart, so we could get top-of-mind awareness for his brand going into Cyber Monday, because that, well done. I mean, the video had everybody talking. Most tech companies don't release things on a Sunday night anyway, just because, they like to appease to Wall Street in the middle of the week, and they like to see, their stock price jump up and all that. I just thought the timing of it was really, really smart, and it was very tactical. And, Amazon only does, these big, huge announcements maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Google has like 5 or 6 of these a month. When Amazon comes out, they had everybody talking about it, good and bad, but, there's no such thing as bad press. I thought the technology behind it was interesting, and I actually spent a decent amount of time this week going around to local hobby shops and actually checking out different types of drones, and talking to engineers I know about what the feasibility of these kind of things were. But it's a heck of a prospect. I mean, I think once they get the business model, once they get the regulatory environment down, and the considerations they're in about safety and about airspace, and of course some people are not going to want this, so they're going to say, can I put a block on having drones fly over my house? So can I make some sort of ordinance? And so they're going to go complain to the FAA, and the FAA largely is only concerned with safety. So then they're going to say, well, that as long as it's not hurting anybody. there's going to be a whole big back and forth, and that's a whole big headache right there. But I think it warrants consideration, and I'd like to see him pull it off, because I think that's a fantastic business model right there. I mean, think about that. To be able to order goods, and if you're within range of a fulfillment center, and there are, Oleg, how many do they have? Does Amazon throughout the U.S.? I think they've got like 19.
Well, I don't know. They have a bunch of them, but I am with Dvorak. I think it's it's an interesting idea, but I don't think it's going to fly at all. No pun intended.
Yeah, because they've got one near you. I mean, obviously the corporate headquarters is near you.
Right.
Is closer to you because they're in. But the fulfillment center in Washington is in Kennewick.
Kennewick, correct. Kennewick.
So Oleg, pun. I like the pun. Why don't you think it's going to fly?
Well, it's funny that, first of all, number one, I totally agree with Jason about this being a brilliant stunt. I didn't even think about it before, but I think that's the main reason he did it, not because he's actually going to put it out. So I think he's generated some sales because of the buzz, but that's about all that's going to happen. The problem is, like Jason mentioned, Alan, in my view, is the same thing. There are so many obstacles. You know, the deal with flying, we're not talking about one guy flying, we're talking about flying as many as there are orders, and you know Amazon does a tremendous volume. So you're going to have a ton of these things in the air potentially at the same time. They need to be regulated somehow by somebody with some sort of controller environment, almost like airplanes. Not exactly, but close. So that's one problem. Second problem is, just like Jason pointed out, a lot of people are going to say, this is BS, this is not flying over my kids. Okay, so it's going to be lawsuits, it's going to be all kinds of stuff. Next, you have people who decide that those are excellent for skeet shooting. And so they decide to actually take their guns out there and start doing some shooting to see how many they can actually get. Then you have these things falling out of the air and creating all kinds of havoc because of that, potentially accident happening because the stupid drone, fell down, hit a car right in the middle of the freeway. I mean,
and as Elon Musk has noticed, they don't talk about all the successful Tesla trips. They talk about the 3 cars compared to 100,000 gasoline-powered cars that catch fire every year.
It doesn't matter.
Those will be the ones on the news.
I think
all of these things.
It was genius PR, though, Alan. It was genius PR because if you notice, much of the feature was about how efficient Amazon is at delivering your product to you with behind-the-scenes exclusive stuff. It was perfect in between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And like Oleg, I actually didn't notice that yet, but I think he's completely right.
These are valid points, and I think the publicity angle is certainly the leading angle on it. But I think if we don't specifically focus on this specific thing as a product, but instead look at, where is delivery of packages going in the next 5, 10, or 15 years, I think it's not that far off base. And the reason why I think it's not that far off base is if you look at the delivery models that we've had in the past and how they've evolved, I think this is not necessarily a totally unreasonable new delivery model. I think it does scale in the same way that UPS scales. Certainly no better or worse. I think it's got safety issues, yes, but I think having a bunch of brown trucks driving around chaotically is at least as much a safety issue as well. And I think more and more as we switch towards towards automation, as we see driverless cars beginning to make a dent, it won't be so far-fetched to see driverless planes, which is
now
what a drone is.
Different factions that are going to go back and forth on this and basically tear from all different sides because safety advocates are going to say, like Oleg pointed out, no, I don't want this. This thing could fall out of the sky. It could land on my dog. It could land in my kiddie pool. What are people like? Like if I can use an example, people like Pam maybe sitting there and just like throwing rocks at these things passing by. Hopefully that she could knock it down, maybe get a free copy of 50 Shades of Grey. I don't know.
But here's the point, Jason. Here's where I turn it around.
It's because it's electronic and it's green energy.
But here's where I turn it around and say that when UPS adopts the driverless UPS truck, okay, are people going to say the same thing, that you're going to sit on your porch with your shotgun taking pot shots at every brown truck that goes by?
No, that's different.
It's not different.
No,
that's the issue.
I think you all are missing also a key element to this. Because, going more the consumer side, even if the laws are there, the regulatory are there, I get packages all the time, and the UPS guy, the way my house is set up, there's garage on both sides of the door, so you can't even get to the door. So he would have to leave it out there, but there's like this little slit where you can put stuff. No drone's going to know how to do that. I mean, what to do if I'm in an apartment building with like 10 other tenants? I mean, who's going to...
No, plus like Michael says, look at this situation. You have some apartment houses, they show a very nice little lawn in front of the house. What happens if it's just an apartment building and there is no nice little lawn? Where's the guy going to land, on the roof?
Here's what I counteract.
Possibly, if you're in a big building, they could possibly land on your balcony. Possibly.
Everyone doesn't have access to the
balcony.
Safety.
But here's the thing. They're promising delivery within 30 minutes. Okay, so what's going to happen is you get this page on your mobile device that's saying that there's a chopper that there's a drone hovering above your building right now. Step outside and it will land safely in your arms. Delivering a package right to you.
But it
How's
can't.
that for a thought?
It can't. It can't.
Sure it can!
No, it cannot. The way you look, if you looked at the drones, it has 4 sensors.
It's not going to fly with...
It has 4 sensors. It has to land all the way on the ground on a stable platform. It has to land all the way on the ground on a stable platform on all 4 legs before it can freaking deliver a package. It's not going to let go of that package.
That was our tribute to the McLaughlin group, that last 10 seconds there. Go ahead.
Michael, and you're trying to tell me that drone technology won't advance 1 drop within the next 10 years?
Not in that regard. Not in regard to what it basically is. Yeah,
what was drone technology like 10 years ago?
What?
What was drone technology like 10 years ago?
No, I know what you're saying, Alan, but they still would need to fly, and they still would need to land, and they still need to be small, and that's what the problem is. I don't see how that's going to change.
We've got, it occurs to me, we actually have a model of a safe way to soft land something in your arms from a device that is hovering overhead. And we tested it on Mars, and it worked perfectly. You've got you've got sky choppers.
What happens if
you can do this?
Okay, well, wait. Yeah, but I want to bring up a counter argument that we said on this very show, I think, a year and a half ago, and I remember because Dan, who's not here now, and it was Dan, myself, Oleg, and Alan, and we were talking about, and basically we were talking about Google's driverless cars. Excuse me. And we were saying, okay, we're all techies, we're all very embracing of new concepts, and we're all very tolerant of new concepts, and so we dig that kind of thing. However, would you be willing to let a driverless car pick up your children and bring your children to school, or your elderly parents? Most people would back down and just say not in the first generation.
Well,
because
the
artificial intelligence implications for this, you're chomping at the bit. You can't wait to start working on this. However, once you actually get it out in the field, it's a little bit more dicey.
So the variables here are fantastic, and when I say fantastic, I don't mean great. I mean they are innumerable. GPS isn't going to tell you if your truck is parked, by the entrance to your house, and will the drone be able to navigate around it. GPS isn't going to be able to tell whether, the bush that's next to your front door is overgrown and the drone's going to get caught in it.
No, but it's got sensors. Yeah, it's going to have sensors, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Oh, wait, okay. I think...
Oh, my gosh.
Leo Laporte on his show yesterday, he was actually saying that I believe it's been reported since that video came out that they said they might have like some sort of landing pad, like maybe a circular disc or something that you put outside your house that would kind of establish that the drone would hone in on, maybe like RFID or something like that. So then you can establish kind of the waypoints and kind of, you can use GPS to figure out generally where you are, but then specifically where the drone would land, because yeah, you don't want it landing in a pile of dog feces.
No, but what if somebody is driving on a bike, a kid is driving on a bike over this deal when it's landing?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And stuff. Or somebody kicked this thing onto the road, and the thing lands on the road on that circle, and then the car runs right over it. I mean, you're losing these things on a daily basis.
Weather.
And what about your packages that get kicked around by the UPS guy?
What about weather?
And what about the UPS truck that gets cut in an accident? And what about the weather from the guy who's running from his UPS truck to put it on your front porch?
Alan,
these are all existing problems.
Right, but not to the degree that this is going to fly or not fly.
I think they're
First of all, the UPS guy has to be able to lift up to 75 pounds, I think, and they have a nice little weight belt that they get to use. This drone's got 5 pounds. Now I understand that that's the weight limit, but when you add the weather to it, that increases. You know, if the wind's blowing really hard, which it does here a lot, like tornado force winds, you know, weather is going to have a big, and the winds come up suddenly. It's not like, you know.
You have hail, you have wind, you have rain. You know,
okay, well,
I love the idea.
Let's take a look at one perspective. Okay, gentlemen and lady, what do you think are the business implications for Amazon right now, just from Amazon's point of view, right? What would the costs be saying to put a fleet of these drones, which they themselves will build, and
initial long term.
And to have a fleet and to manage the fleet as opposed to like somebody.
Initial
and only within 10 miles or 5 miles of each distribution center, I think it's going to be a significant investment of cost for little return.
Okay, so that's the thing.
That I think is the biggest argument why this isn't going to happen. It's not the technical reasons. It's the fact that the only place that it is practical are so narrow that there's no need to actually really try to do this. The question that I would then turn around and say is, okay, that's fine. What happens when Amazon licenses this to UPS or FedEx, who's got a lot more local distribution centers?
I disagree with you. They don't, actually. FedEx and UPS have distribution centers that are near airports, which is problematic because that's right. And just an updraft from a jet taking off or downdraft would, you know, throw that little toy right out of the air, you know.
So this brings me back to my original point. When we look at this in terms of cost, if you're trying to run a business to this, because Pam brought up a really interesting point. What should they do in terms of trying to get more people to move closer to the 19-odd fulfillment centers that they have right now, which is really a real stretch, or say, do we build out more fulfillment centers, which are those 1.2 million square foot centers, or do we have these little regional hubs and have the drones launch from all of those hubs? Because that's a heck of a logistics problem right there.
As far as Amazon's problem, I mean, as far as their situation now, I think they're going to do all of the above, not for drones, but for faster distribution to make that more closer one-day deliverability or be there by vehicle in a certain amount of time. I don't think drones going to be anytime soon because of all these freaking hurdles. I love the idea. I think
one of the reasons why Walmart is so ubiquitous is because what they do is they build these Walmarts in line with their distribution centers in order to make them more efficient. It's cheaper for them to build a Walmart relatively close to another Walmart because their distribution is so efficient that they can then stock these stores for technically a lot less money. So the fact that you know, Los Angeles is probably a little far away from the San Bernardino distribution center for Amazon. And Los Angeles would be a great market. San Diego would be a great market. New York, San Francisco, some of these big cities would be a great market, but the distribution centers are too far away.
Pam, let's look at this.
Distribution centers right now. They're in
look at this. They have
Newegg, Coffeeville.
You know how far Newegg is from me, Jason? According to Google Maps, it's 218 miles.
Wow. Okay, I had no idea.
So how fast do they need to fly to make it here in 30 minutes? Tell me.
Well, they can't because the range is only 10 miles, they said.
Okay, so that Newegg distribution center doesn't do anybody any good. It'll have to be something else because this deal with distribution center is just not going to fly. It's 200 miles away from here, and I'm not looking from Seattle.
Is that what you were suggesting? They would have to build out hubs as opposed to building another.
Ton of them, ton of hubs. They have to put something right there in Seattle.
And that wouldn't solve the problem because they would still have to go to the distribution center and drive it to the freaking hub.
Exactly. That's why even though it's a cool idea from just a coolness standpoint, and the video looks cute, you know, nothing wrong with that. There was another video a guy did of like a mock. They're mocking it by using rockets. If you guys saw that, that was pretty funny. Using the rocket to deliver in 5 minutes.
The funny one that I saw was the one where Walmart is putting on ground-to-air missile systems on all of its buildings. I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, for all of us knocking it here, there was a comment earlier that I can't find at the moment. But we've talked a lot on this show. We've talked a lot in person about the moonshots, about the 10 times thinking. Well, here's a case where somebody besides Google is at least claiming to have a moonshot, is at least claiming to have a 10 times thinking. And whether they do it this way, whether they do it some other way that was inspired by this, or however it gets there, it sounds like Amazon is at least thinking of the long picture.
Possibly.
And that's what I'm going to give them credit for. Whether or not they do it with this one or not. I think it's clear that they're thinking outside the box about how they can do their job better, and I'm going to give them credit for that.
And they're forcing the FAA to deal with some of these regulations. Right now, if you wanted to charge someone to operate a drone, or you know, and we say drone, and that's a wide range of devices, from multi-million-dollar, gigantic, you know, military weaponized airplanes to a toy quadcopter, right? So drone is not a drone, but it's illegal to charge for that. If Oleg wanted someone to take a nice photograph of his property, that person couldn't pay. So now you have people who are, there's literally a story in the news this week about some guy, there's some feral pig problem, I think in Florida or somewhere, and he's flying drones over people's property so they can identify where the pigs are so they can go hunt them. And but he's not allowed to charge, so he works on tips. And so he says, you know, if you tip me more, I'll go on more often. You know, sometimes I get $25. So this, I mean, they need to update the rules. And if for no other reason, that there'll be a benefit from this, from Bezos.
We had a massive amount of comments on this subject, and I'm not going to go back
pigs
and
or
get to
drones?
all of them. The feral pigs, of course.
Drones.
But I want to recap some of the last ones. Andrew goes, I think the big question is, does anyone actually need this? We seem to have managed without it for this long. I'd point out, Andrew, that in some locations, in New York City, for example, you've got courier services that are doing this sort of thing now and have been doing it for decades. And if somebody comes up with the right way to get drones to do the same sort of thing, yeah, you'll see it spread throughout a lot more places than just Manhattan.
If it's cheaper and quicker, there'll be a demand.
The key issue that the whole drones concept is trying to solve is that Amazon has had this mandatory disconnect between the time when somebody actually orders product and when it gets to their doorstep. So they're trying to think creatively about ways that they can streamline that. And yeah, this is, you know, a moonshot, and this is a crazy idea. Yeah, if they can.
And the thinking that we've always done it this other way. I mean, if you do that, then forget. You know, why are you even on the computer right now? People lived for centuries without computers. Why are you on the computer? So, I mean, you can't think that way.
We've got this from Kevin. All you guys are crazy. For starters, I'd point out that I'm the only one that's actually defending this. Everyone else is saying that it's bunk.
I was defending.
Flying drones with packages will never, never be approved. Too dangerous, too unregulated, too much, to which Tariq replies, so are driverless cars.
I agree on the packages. We should definitely have gender-neutral drones. But I'm bummed.
Kevin is right on the ball.
I'm the only one that got that one, Dan. Sorry.
That was directed at Pam. Okay. All right. So are we good on this? Because I want to get Jason's reaction to something. I'm gonna bump it up because I don't know.
Now the other half of the story.
Right. The other half of this.
Oh, we're only half done.
Right. No, the other half of the story is that Google announced that they finally have a place for Andy. They know what he's going to do, and they bought 7 companies to help him do it. So that while Amazon is focusing on automated drones, Google's going to be focusing on robots.
More punnetly, androids.
Nah.
See, this is so crazy because so many people who covered this story and just said, "Oh, Andy Rubin is now getting into robotics," are so misinformed. It just drives me up the wall because his background actually is in robotics. He made his bones working with robotics, basically.
Pardon the pun there, Jason. Do you think it was a voluntary departure from Android to this, or do you think he's like, I really want to do this. This is the next thing, and I'm basically, you know, there's a he created a light bulb, and then he ended up running a light bulb factory, and maybe he wants to create another light bulb.
Yeah, it's you know, it was probably a long-term strategy that just said, you know, you can take what you started and, you know, see it so far, and then obviously it will, you know, take on a life of its own and will hire thousands of people to work on it and everything, and then you're such a talented person anyway, and you've got a background in this kind of field anyway that, you know, go seek out, you know, new opportunities and, you know, like venture out on your own.
No, but when you look at everything they're doing with voice control and what they're doing with AI, and then you look at a movie like Robot and Frank, and you see that this is not science fiction at all. This is like, you know, literally almost here. So it's very possible that's what they're working on.
And the thing that we have to remember is, at least initially, they said that what Andy Rubin will be working on as far as robotics are robotics with a primary capacity for doing manufacturing. And you wonder how Google is going to fold that into its own operations for things like, you know, as now what is starting to be put out when they say, you know, what does Google X do? And people say, well, Google X is the moonshot factory, or it's just, you know, driverless cars and Google Glass. A lot of the people, if you talk to Googlers, and they actually say this publicly now, is they say Google X is our hardware division, and we're producing physical things. And so, you know, I mean, obviously we're a world-class software operation, but now we're actually producing tangible goods. And you wonder how the manufacturing end is going to be automated to that end.
And he probably got in Google X and see. I mean, Google's issue is manufacturing. So I mean, he was in part of Google X. I mean, oh, this is the next step to making Google X or getting products out of Google X into the real world, manufacturing.
You know, there was another story that came out, and I couldn't find it quickly, talking about how one of the big problems with electronics manufacturing these days is that you still need people to put the tiny pieces together. There's still a lot of manual labor associated with putting together all of the pieces that we have. And that's what Foxconn specializes in at this point. So it would be an interesting question to see if what Andy's going to be focusing on are creating robots that can do that kind of fine, detailed assembly.
Yeah.
To automate these to automate that sort of thing more, so that they don't have to depend on Foxconn.
Yeah, they were making airplanes from totally computerized parts and everything else. Why not? And assembling them using robots. To some degree.
Do you think this will help Google's capacity to mass produce goods, like maybe if they actually mass produce their own automotive lines? Because if you've seen in the last few days especially, Google is really ramping up in a variety of ways in automotive technology and content.
They are, but at the same time, look at the Chromebooks. They're not making Chromebooks. That's the thing I found it interesting.
But I think that being a platform, they don't have to make Chromebooks.
Well, in theory, they don't have to make cars either.
Just like Android. But they don't have that platform for the cars yet, so I mean, they really do. To, you know, demo it off, get it interesting, just like the phones.
Yeah, but they are making glass, and there's a lot of people that are saying that they really are making the Nexus devices these days instead of, you know, and they are making the Moto X.
Yeah, right.
So I think more and more it's clear that they've realized they need to start bringing this in-house, because otherwise they're going to go the way of Microsoft.
They just need to buy Tesla now, and there's their car answer.
Funny story about Tesla. When I was last on the Google campus, somebody from way out of town noticed a bunch of Nissans that were sitting there plugged in, and they said to the Google host, "Oh, you know, it's great to see that you've got these plugged in. You know, it would be, you know, how many Teslas? I bet not too many people have Teslas." And those of us that knew better kind of laughed, because we're like, you got to be kidding! About 45% of every Tesla, of all the Teslas sold, are sold to Google employees, with another 45% sold to Apple employees. So yeah, Tesla's got a big presence.
Yeah, we have in Kirkland here. We have a bunch of them running around now. I noticed a lot of Teslas. Of course, we have Google here too.
Dan, wake up.
Are you ready?
Next topic.
Okay, next up. While Jason's still here, right?
Yeah.
I want to show you this cool thing. I'm gonna do a more in-depth thing as my app of the week on our Android show on Monday night, which is at 9 p.m. Eastern time, if Alan reminds me correctly. And I want to show you this awesome product. It's like not well known. It's been out for 2 years. It's by Listech, which is a big teleprompter company. This is perfect for like if you do a podcast or if you want to do like whatever kind of video where if you're like me, you're ADHD, you can't stay on topic and you say, and then Alan screams at me, right? So to avoid all of that, you can use a script. And I'm really good with a script. And I have a big teleprompter, but it's bulky and it's a pain in the ass and they're expensive. But so this is this thing. It comes in a really cool case. Right? This is like a field teleprompter. You open it up and it's got a place for everything. And then it looks really good too. This is on my NEX 7. It's actually, what it does is it screws on just like a Tiffin filter, because Listech is the same company that is Tiffin and Lowell Lighting, right? So it assembles in like 2 minutes and it looks really cool. It looks like a real teleprompter. It's just tiny. And so this is what it looks like. I'll aim it right at you guys. And this works from about 10 feet away. It's designed for a phone. It's on loop mode. So I just did an EBS test script just to show you. And I've tested it and you can't see the script. But this works about 10 feet away. And it comes with a remote control here. So if the talent has their hand off screen or a producer, you can control everything. You control the font size, all this stuff. But I can speed it up here because I'm connected via Bluetooth. This is an old Motorola Photon. I'm speeding it up now. And then I can pause it. I can slow it down to a crawl, that sort of thing. But this is the coolest thing, and it just works great. So you could set this up on a tripod and do your long form YouTube testimonial video about what you're outraged or happy about that week or whatever it is. And it fits in this little tiny case, which you can just stick in your kit when you need it. If you're doing like event stuff or clients, or if you want to do a stand up somewhere and you're a one-man band, this can help you.
How much is it, Dan?
It's, believe it or not, it's on sale on B&H. This is $200 with the remote and the box and everything. This is the cheapest remote teleprompter I've ever seen. And I'm going to show you closely here. So this thing snaps off. In fact, I'll dismantle it real quick. This is just to show you the quality of it, right? This is like a rubber side thing here. And then there's a tray at the bottom. And I've got a Motorola Photon. Now, this does not work well with a large, like a Samsung type phone, right? So if you have like my Note 2 would not fit in here. It's designed for a 4-inch wide at the base here. That's where the bottleneck is, right here. But it's designed for 4-inch or less screens. But that 4-inch screen works fine for up to about 10 feet. You can still see it. And even with the light on, like if I was in a dark area, even with the light on, right in your face, you can still see the text, right? And you're looking right at the text, and you can't tell. And I've tested it, and it works great. So I'm curious, Jason, this is a hell of a product, because as you know, teleprompters are just absurdly expensive.
Yeah, this is pretty.
I got a question. I'm wondering if you could be doing a hangout on it so that the display shows up there. You can be staring straight at us, and yet you're literally looking straight at the camera as well as looking at the people in the hangout.
Yeah, you would be.
Okay, one thing I'm going to suggest, the best thing about this is you can talk to the person who actually helped develop it and goes to the trade shows. If you call Listech, I talked to Lisa, and she's like, yeah, I was talking about the mirror. She's like, yeah, I was trying to get a thicker glass, but we couldn't fit it in there. And I was like, you did this? Like, yeah, I go to the trade show stuff. So when you call for support, you're actually talking to the person who made the product. I mean, because it's that rare product. It's $320 on Amazon and everywhere else, but B&H has it for $200. That's why I bought it immediately, because they had it for such a good price. But yeah, I would love an attachment where you could stick a C920 in there, because on the bottom it has a tripod mount. right here. It has a 1/4-inch tripod mount. So you could just mount this on a tripod and have your C920 in there. And you could put, I mean, you've got 4 inches of real estate, so anything you can get on that screen, you could use. Just like my teleprompter, it's got like a 15-inch monitor at the bottom, and anything I shoot to it works. And then there are other apps, right? Because this will work with an iPhone or an Android phone. And so whatever your favorite teleprompter app is, you can use. But they have, if you want to play with this app, it's called ListTech. I'll show on the screen for the other guys. It's ListTech's Promptware Plus. I'm not being paid by them, by the way. I'm excited about this product. I am in no way being endorsed by them or paid by them.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, right. As I get my ListTech minivan tomorrow. ListTech Promptware Plus, and it's a free app, so you can get that and check it out. But it won't. But it's fully functional with the remote, which is cool. And it's like a cheap plastic remote. The keyboard, it's about the quality of like an intelligent TV remote, if that. But I'm just really impressed with this for field stuff, or if you have whatever. It looks most of the low-end teleprompters you can buy look really ghetto, and all teleprompters are overpriced. But this one, I just think it looks really cool, and it's very functional, and it was actually the cheapest one out there. And I saw it, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And now I have a use for my old formerly bricked Motorola Photon. Isn't that neat, Jason? What a useful device at a low price point. Because these could be like 15 grand a teleprompter.
Yeah, or you could. Well, the thing I'm wondering too is at what point will the manufacturer of that one? Let me switch back on.
You're good. We can hear you.
At what point will the vendor who makes those actually develop the software module where they can actually take a live video feed and transcribe the text in real time, as opposed to having to load a static script? Because that's always the measure of a true teleprompter. Is can you actually stick that in front of Piers Morgan at CNN, and can you actually transcribe what he's saying as he's saying it, and then that come out as like
you can come close. First of all, you're a victim of whatever software. It's very versatile, right? And I agree with you. When you're Piers Morgan, all of a sudden, like tonight during the Google Plus Week show, I noted that that North Korea had deported the Korean War veteran who had been held there, the elderly gentleman. And so I was doing we're by no means CNN breaking news, but I just wanted to note that because a lot of people are talking about it and been thinking about that. So that is an issue. What they do is you can connect it to a Dropbox or email, but you can't edit it on the fly. So you're right there. But you can. But there's like different marks, position marks. This is a prosumer level software program, right? This is not something that CNN or Fox or PBS or your station would use when there's a potential that something breaking could happen. But also it's $200, and the stuff you're using is probably 15 grand.
Dan, as I understand it though, it's just showing what's on the screen, right? What's on your phone screen.
Yeah, you could use any what it's just showing the phone. This is just a Motorola Photon.
If I write an app, the only thing I need to do is have it display the text backwards.
Absolutely. Yeah, because this is a mirror mode. Sure.
Right. So I can write an app that's following along a Google Drive document, and as somebody's typing into the document, as long as I'm displaying it backwards, it'll show up on the screen, and you can read what I'm typing into Google Docs.
Exactly.
Yeah, my favorite is
if I'm using Google Glass to dictate to Google Docs because I'm on the scene.
Which is what I did. I didn't type this in. I actually went to the thing where you can type in a script because I wanted to just demo this, and I actually hit this phone is gingerbread, right? So I went to the thing and I clicked the microphone button and I said, "This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is only a test. The broadcast in your area and voluntary cooperation, blah blah blah." And I actually just spoke it more articulately, and it captured it perfectly. So I didn't actually type this in or email it or Dropbox it, which are the options. I just spoke it. But
so Jason,
on the fly updating is an issue, yes. But that's something that a developer could overcome with an app because this, just as Alan says, just displays whatever's on the phone. Oleg?
No, I was just going to say, so Jason has it clear. So what's happening is you're dictating through Glass, as Alan pointed out, whatever the article is, right? Then it gets converted to text using Alan's app and being shown. I mean, it's ready to deploy from Google Drive. While you're doing this using your Google Glass, you're typing up an order on Amazon, and then that thing gets shipped in 30 minutes with a drone to your reporter that then gets the two, and they do the broadcast. That's how it's synergized together.
And all while this is happening, the NSA is watching us, and there was no conspiracy with JFK.
Yes, and if there is any kind of problem with the drone, somebody gets hurt, then there's always Obamacare.
Yeah. No, that's so, well, Alan, I was also going to say to your app idea and everything, you could actually take that, if it was speech to text in, you could export that and have that go straight into the YouTube file as closed captioning content.
Could.
True.
Yeah, you could even on this thing, you could be. I mean, you could be playing whatever, a YouTube live stream.
You can export this text that's showing up on the teleprompter as the YouTube captioning portion. That's reasonable as well.
Mm-hmm. The big advantage I think here, Jason, is if you were a one-man band covering some event, say covering a car show or a court case, what have you, and more small medium markets are sending one-man bands out. So you could, as you're covering the court case, you're evaluating everything, and then you in your iPhone, your Android phone, you're typing up your script, and then you hit go, and this thing just loops, and then you just set it, put it on a tripod, and then you can deliver a really good stand-up. You could almost do your entire package from that script, and then just add your B-roll. And the price point is ridiculous, and this thing's built like a tank because you've got the thing at the bottom that holds the phone. You've got this thing that snaps off here, and then you've got your glass, which is fragile, and that's $75 to replace that. And the whole thing screws on right to the end of your lens, just like a Tiffin filter would. It's just super light and super portable. It's just really a game changer.
Wait, Oleg talked about drones. I want to just pedal back to something that Pam brought up initially. Very, very poignant, I thought, because Pam was talking about when you're talking about drones, and especially like the Amazon prototype, right? Just how much weight that can carry, because you've got 5 pounds or less for the payload, and then you've got however many grams the actual box carries. And if you saw the video, I mean that's no toy. I mean it's reinforced steel, and it's a coaxial octocopter, so it's got 4 levels or 2 levels of four blades. When I was looking into this kind of thing, Pam, this week, the Parrot AR drone, the really popular one, that's $300, and the payload that you can carry on that with the default battery that gives you about 10 minutes of flight time is only 700 grams, and that's with onboard cameras and whatnot. The salesperson told me, he goes, if you actually want to take like a GoPro and they actually sell the housing, and you want to have better resolution video, or do a lot cooler things with just a better camera, you can mount that on there. But because of the additional weight that you have to now bear, your battery goes from 10 minutes to 7 minutes, just from carrying 700 grams. That's crazy.
700 grams is less than 1.5 pounds. About 500 grams. It's a little more than 500 grams per pound. So yeah, that's not a lot.
You didn't even Google that, huh? You just knew. You are the weights and measurements queen. I love it.
Well, we deal in metrics in the science world, and so we have to know how to convert.
I know that. That's beautiful. Yeah, but yeah. So I was just thinking about that because, you were talking about, what are the considerations for the weight, and they're now just saying 5 pounds or less. That's a machine, and again, it goes back to cost. How much is it going to cost to build each of these things? Because I was immediately thinking, $200. Yeah. No way, those things are expensive.
So just just think, the box itself, the packaging material, and then the thing that you bought. I mean, I ordered a fog machine a couple of years ago for my daughter. She wanted to do a disco party for her birthday, and it was $14. That stupid thing weighs like 7 pounds, and it comes with a big bottle of fog juice. So it's not like, you know what I mean?
Okay, here's another thing. I just thought about this right now. Alan, I'm particularly interested in your thoughts because you always bring this up. What if you live on the Oregon Washington border and you're closer to one of the hubs or distribution centers, whatever, and the drone actually has to cross state lines to deliver you your goods, whose sales tax do you pay? Now that it's up in the air that Amazon orders may or may not incur sales tax, and is there going to be a shipping cost if a drone actually sends something?
So typically the sales tax is incurred from the state that you order from. So whoever's paying for that product pays the sales tax.
Even if the drone were to cross state lines?
Sure.
It's where you order from, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, why was it? Duh. Can you tell I live on an where we just like I mean I can order
Jason, it's like you live in the middle of paradise or out on an island or something.
This way, I can order a Snickers bar right now and it's going to cost me $18 to deliver if I had it brought in. Our shipping here is nuts. When I was in graduate school and I had to order my books and everything, I had to pay like $60 extra per book.
Well, it's literally shipping, right?
Yeah. That's just the shipping cost.
Yeah, but I mean, they're literally shipping it. You're an island, so Australia is the same way, isn't it? And Japan?
No, they use airplanes.
Not for a Snickers bar.
Yeah, they just ship over a pallet on an airplane because people fly into Guam.
Can you get Amazon Prime in Guam and order a Snickers bar with free 2-day shipping?
I tried to get Prime at the beginning of the year, and they said it wasn't available. And then one of my coworkers just got a package, and I'm not sure if she actually has Prime or it was just the wrapping, but it said Amazon Prime on the box. So honestly, I don't know. I hope so. But about Amazon, the digital stuff does not apply out here, like the like Amazon Prime movies and music. We don't qualify.
Man.
Yeah. So that's one thing I was thinking about. It's like, okay, because wasn't it a California thing that now they said if you order in Amazon now California state tax does apply? Because before.
Oh yeah. Oh no,
yeah.
It applies now. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That was actually just up at the Supreme Court, and the Supremes declined to listen to the case.
Yeah.
The West Wing there, Supremes. Okay, so are we good? Pam, did you get Amazon Prime? You were talking about it.
No, I haven't actually pushed the button yet, but I do have an order that I'm stockpiling for my boss for Christmas, and so I might just get Prime with that.
You should do it. The video.
Yeah, cool. I'm thinking of it. I mean, it's only $79 for a whole year. I pay more than that for Costco membership, so I mean the worst I'm out is $79, right? If I never use it again. But I mean we buy cat box liners all the time, so I can just imagine that
you can. There's I mean, not everything is cheaper. Some commodity products are cheaper at Walmart or whatever local store, your grocery store, but
no. Gas is almost $4 a gallon here.
Wow.
It's cheaper. It's
cheaper.
cheaper.
You for Google Shopping Express in LA?
What?
Do you qualify for Google Shopping Express? I know the Bay Area does, but
I have never heard of that.
I think it's Bay Area only right now.
Is it? Okay.
And we covered it on the show like 6 months ago.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about that is when I was at Google and I talked to some people about that, they said while they were testing it, there were staffers and friends who, and they said, you can order anything in any denomination, and so you would get people that would just order like literally like a bag of candy corn, and they'd have some like Google Shopping Express person like fly out to their house or whiz out to their house and like drop it off.
That's crazy.
Now just think if they had a drone to do. Oh wait.
You know what I found is kind of weird about Amazon? I wanted to get someone who doesn't live in the United States a gift card for Amazon, and I can't do that. I mean, how crazy is that?
Really?
Yeah.
I've gotten gift cards before.
You're
then
technically
outside the U.S. territory, so.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have it. Drones and robots will be delivering your
Jason,
packages.
look.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the beautiful Samsung Note 3.
Oh, nice. So will you be getting the Galaxy Gear as well?
No. The watch thingy, no.
Yeah. Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay,
Ken
so
likes them large. Come on, you give me the straight lines, I gotta take them.
You know, I was trying to avoid. I resisted making a joke about the stylus, and here you go. Here you go.
Come on.
Pretend so we can say those kind of jokes.
When Jason says it's large and Pam says I like it, what do you expect?
You ever notice the only time Jason ever comes on the show is when Pam's here? See, I think there's some. Okay,
There's a reason for that.
This is the next.
Likes to laugh.
The next story is actually a great one for Jason to weigh in on, and it's about native advertising, which is the new term for basically sponsored posts or whatever you want to call it.
Or talking about things like your teleprompter as part of your weekly show.
Well, I was going to do that in the end, because it's my new toy, so I was playing with it, just like Pam might do on her program.
Wait, native advertising in the sense that it runs on native apps, or native in the fact that, like, I'm indigenous Guamanian?
Oh my God. That was yes! I try to sneak in a subversive Guam joke every week, and you caught it this time, so $5 to you in Google Plus points. So anyway, so the story is online. The F.T.C. is looking into online ads. This was that might fool someone into thinking that it's actually a news story. So I've seen this, like, you're on a website and you're looking at a news story, and then at the bottom it says you might also like, let's say you're on ABC News or ESPN, whatever it is, and it might have 3 stories at the bottom from ABC or ESPN, and then underneath that there are 3 other stories that are paid posts, like 6 reasons why you're making a big mistake with your retirement plan, and then it's an article by someone who's trying to sell you a retirement plan, and they might look deceptively similar to fool you. Now, I know in the newspaper business, we have to, I think by law, but certainly by practice, we would never use the font that we write a newspaper article in an ad. That's directly barred by me and every paper I know of. If something is written, even if it is in a separate font, to look like a newspaper article, like, you know, millions of Virginians are discovering that this location is the best place to go fishing, or whatever the story is. If they want to make it look like a news story, it has to say advertisement at the top, and again, cannot use the same fonts. So the idea is there's nothing wrong with advertising, but you want a clear distinction. It would be wrong if, for example, if Listec were paying me, which they're not, I swear to God. I just bought it, and I was talking late today, and I was just excited about this product. But if they were secretly paying me to say what I just said, and I didn't disclose that, and then I think the viewers it would be a trust thing, and they would feel deceived, as they would have been, because it would be like a sponsored thing as opposed to a genuine thing. So I'm just curious, because you're in the mainstream media as a TV news anchor, and also you're an internet user, and you've seen this. You've seen the controversy over BuzzFeed, which has, I think it was BuzzFeed. Initially it really looked like BuzzFeed art. You couldn't tell the difference between an actual BuzzFeed post or a sponsored post. And now they've made some sort of distinction after getting some criticism. Is this something where the government regulators need to weigh in, or the criticism is enough, or do you think it's an issue at all, Jason? What do you think?
I mean, I don't really think. And wait, before we proceed, and before Alan completely drifts off the La La Land, did you guys all talk about Mike Elgin yet?
No, I actually talked to him today, and we're gonna try to get him on. But he had a couple birthday parties tonight.
Because I'm interested in your thoughts about that. Okay, real quick, the other thing, I've always thought that legislation hinders innovation, and the only time I really ever thought I ever really became aware of, like native or ads in native programs really becoming dominant was Angry Birds. When that first started, the big thing on the internet has always been, and the reason why Google was doing all the work it was in Android was because when Apple said everybody, like move towards native apps, that took away the ability, obviously, to run apps in a web environment and, like have so many eyeballs in there. And so there's been a bridging of sorts between web and native, and, like native doesn't necessarily handle SEO very well. And that was also
that term may have been wrong. I think I may have gotten off of the wrong track there. What I'm describing is when you're looking at a news website or any kind of content website, and they have stories that are generated by their staff or contributors, what have you, and then they sneak in a story that is a paid post that looks too similar to the other stories, that the reader is not aware that this is not in fact written by a BuzzFeed or Verge or ABC News staffer. I'm not picking on any of those people. I just named some content sites. What if there was a story stuck in there that appeared to be by one of those folks, but in fact was paid by some company, and the consumer read it and didn't realize that they were reading an advertisement? Whereas in your case on TV, and in my case in a newspaper, we have to make that distinction very clear. On the internet, they haven't been, they've kind of pushed those boundaries to an extent. That's what the F.T.C. is looking into.
It's not illegal to do that. I mean, it's arguably to not disclose that is, it's a paid spot, and some people can say in terms of crass marketing, if I disclose the fact that it's a paid spot and you put that up at the top of the article, most people are going to dismiss it and never read the article. I mean, it's kind of guerrilla marketing, because you could say, okay, well, we can actually put an ad in there, and it's written by us, and it goes in the main news stream, so it kind of we kind of slide in there, and whatever eyeballs we get. I mean, I've got no problem with that.
What about, would it be ethical to, let's say I had McDermott Cola, and I paid you to just drink it during the show, set it on your news desk? You know what I mean? Clearly, you would say, hell no. You're not going to do a paid.
No, if we're making revenue for my company, I'll shove a carrot up my nose on the air if somebody pays me to.
Is your weather sponsored? Like, this is the Guam Ford Weather Center?
No.
Wait. Did you really say that you'd shove a carrot up your nose?
Oh my God! Here we go, back full circle.
Okay,
Stick with your stylus. Stick with your stylus, Pam.
Carrot anywhere else, we're talking big time money there.
Yeah, that would definitely be a YouTube moment.
Oh my God! I'll start a Kickstarter.
Yeah, you must have been off the air for a couple of days, or is that like a 3-hour growth, Jason?
You want to talk? We're talking Super Bowl money now.
Oh man, you might need a few Guam beers first. I think they'll do any the Guam guys.
So I'm sorry. So the thing about Mike Elgin, now named news director of Twit, what does everybody think about that?
I think it's fantastic, and I'll be honest. He's been on our show, I think, 2 or 3 times. He's been on the Android show once. We've been talking about him getting it back on here, and Alan noted today that try to get him on tonight, but he had some birthdays. He was doing some birthday parties tonight, so he couldn't do it. And obviously, Friday at 5:30 p.m. Is a bad time, Pacific time, to get someone
for anybody who has a real life.
Right, but us geeks, in our parents' basement with our Star Wars figurines celebrating our virginity, 5:30 is no problem on a Friday night. So anyway, I think it's fantastic. I was very impressed. I mean, he's been on. He is an incredible writer. He's got this dry, acerbic wit and intelligence that flows through. He's absolutely fearless with the pen. Yet when you meet him and you talk to him, I've never met him in person. Alan has, but when we've chatted either in a private hangout or a public hangout, he is the most charming, humble, soft-spoken guy. And it's really a stark contrast. So I'm surprised and excited to see what he's like anchoring a show. Because he's great on Twit, but he's not like you'd think reading his stuff, you'd think he'd be really aggressive and in your face on camera, but he's not like that. And so I think this is awesome. He's one of the smartest guys we've ever had on the show. And I think most of the people on tonight have been on one of the shows with him. I know Pam and Alan would agree and that he's just smart as a whip. And just he's one of those guys, like I covered Newt Gingrich. And I remember asking him a question, and like 3 words into my question, I knew he knew the answer. He was just waiting for me to finish asking so he could give me some, carefully crafted response that he came up with in half a second.
Some rope to hang
he's
yourself.
smart. He's a smart dude, and I think it's fantastic for Twit. And I wonder how this will impact his nomadic lifestyle of late. I guess he's going to have to rein that in for some period of time.
He said he's moving to Petaluma or somewhere there. I'm wondering what this is going to be, and I'm not saying that they do a bad job already, because Tom Merritt, who is now, he hosts a number of shows, including Tech News Today, is a real, he's a dogged reporter. He's really, really good. And as is the case when you replace any, high-level manager, or in this case a news director, what direction Twit's news gathering is going to take. And because they do a good job getting the major news and offering very unique insight. And Tom's got talk about someone with a dry wit. Tom's got really good sense of humor, and he's an excellent radio guy.
What do you think about the as far as the contrast? Because remember, Elgin comes from a print background.
Fantastic. He's been in space since I think '91.
Yeah, he was a magazine editor of mobile magazines. He started some, right, according to that bio. He was the head editor of Windows Magazine, and he started a lot, or either co-launched or founded a number of magazines over like a 10-plus year period. And now, he's a independent blogger who works for a multitude of places. And I assume he's going to keep the freelance stuff going. I'm not sure. We can ask him all these questions when he comes on. But it is interesting. I'm not sure what Merritt's background is. Was he a broadcast type guy, or was he a print guy?
He's a traditional. He's a broadcast. I think he studied journalism proper. But he's got a background in, like, he's been an executive producer at a number of places, and he's been a radio host. And you can hear it. The guy's voice was made for radio. But I'm just, again, I'm wondering if, and not to say that Tom has done a bad job. I'm actually a very big Tom fan. I'm just wondering if when Mike comes in, if Leo will say, okay, well, now we want to start going head-to-head with the CNETs of the world and the GigaOhms and the Mashables and everything like that, to actually say, instead of just, giving our insight on what everybody else is reporting, if we're going to start proactively going out there and trying to break news.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because with Elgin, you're not getting AP-style upside-down triangle reporting. You're getting opinion. He's more like a Fox News or MSNBC type anchor than a CNN anchor, I would think.
Yeah,
and
a lot
that's
of
what he wants, because this is a time perishable type of program, right? If you're doing Tech News Today or Tech News Tonight, it's by definition a time perishable piece, and you want to get more views, and you got to get them fast. And if you're just rehashing what everyone else is rehashing, then you're a commodity product. But if you have a unique personality in there, which we've seen, like what the ratings at CNN have done with straight news versus MSNBC and Fox News, they've gone up. And I think maybe Leo's applying that to Tech News, where he wants to put strong personalities in there to analyze stuff, and not just have, not to criticize Merritt in any way, but maybe that's what the allure of Mike Elgin was. I'm guessing. Again, we can ask. I haven't talked to him about it.
Yeah, Alan, are you a big Tech News Today viewer?
Have you tried talking to Leo Laporte? He's on Google Plus too.
I have not. I couldn't sleep last night. I saw it at like 2:30 in the morning, so I shared it, and I saw, I guess, at least one of you guys shared that post because Twit announced it, and I was like, hey, Mike's a good guy. I hung out with him in the early days of Google Plus, and I remember it was Christmas Day, I believe. He and his wife, they started to hang out in their house in, I believe they're in somewhere in Southern California, somewhere I forget where. But they had a MiFi card with them, and they took their phone, and this is right after Hangouts were made available for mobile devices. And then Mike actually mounted his phone on his dashboard, and then they took each one of us in the Hangout on a tour, basically the Pacific Coast Highway for like 3 hours. And he basically just like stayed with everybody, and he kept his phone running as he wrote, and he did stuff. And he's a real genuine guy, real down to earth, like you said, Dan.
Yeah, he's super. And as far as I haven't talked to Leo, I've mentioned him on my shows multiple times, and he's actually mentioned me on his show. I don't know which one, I forget. Craig pointed out to me, but we've never actually communicated. So I'm a fan, though. I mean, he taught all of us who do internet-based shows how to do it. He's the Henry Ford of this technology, and he was very transparent, exactly what equipment he used and everything. He's an extraordinary, heroic figure for anyone who, in the last 5 years or 10 years, has thought about doing an internet-based, broadcast of some sort. Netcast, as he says, podcast, what do you want to call it?
And he's even alluded to that on his show in the last few weeks, and I guess maybe now we know where he's going with this. Is he was saying, like, because he runs a small business, or actually like Lisa, his CEO runs it. They don't have the budget to be able to bring in, like a Katie Couric or like people at that level. They can't, they can't bring their credibility and their chutzpah to the operation. So bringing in people that actually have the geek cred, and then be able to move out and to be able to compete with the majors and everything. I don't know. Maybe that's what he's going for. But kudos to him for trying.
But they can. I mean, I would say that Mike Elgin is a Katie Couric of tech.
Yeah,
it's a niche audience, right?
Being in the news business, all it takes is one of those times when you can break a really, really big story with big impacts on an entire community, and everybody else, because it's good talk about good journalism practice. Everyone will say, Mike Elgin at the Twit Network just reported this today, and then NBC picks up on that, and the Washington Post picks up on that, and now everybody knows who you are. That's the same thing that happened with Yahoo Sports. They broke a really huge story a couple of years ago about the University of Miami and some scandal down there with the football team in Coral Gables, and now everybody, views Yahoo Sports as a, top tier journalism outfit, and they are. I mean, they got a really good team.
I wouldn't call it top tier, but look at Drudge Report. He broke the Monica Lewinsky scandal, and talk about being put on the map. He often sets the calendar for a lot of news organizations now. One guy,
Alan,
literally one guy in a basement. Go ahead, Alan.
Can we Alan, can we get a explanation for your facial expression?
I can't see him. What's he doing? Let me put him up.
I'm reading other articles for the next story that we're
okay.
Going to get.
Should we, I guess, move on to another topic?
I'm on my tablet. I can't see the rundown.
As Alan goes, so goes the nation, right? Okay, so is anyone prepared? I haven't seen this. I didn't put this in. I have no idea what the hell it's about. So I definitely want to. We can stall. What's the thing, Jason, that you do with the weatherman when you need him to stall? You go like this, stretch, right?
Stretch.
Yeah, stretch. So we can do this. We can stretch, because I don't have a clue what this is about. Can you?
Well, I've read it and I put it in.
Oh, okay, good.
This was the story that I alluded to earlier that I had meant to include as well.
This is the ratings bonanza topic. Alan Firstenberg, you are in charge.
I could skip it, Dan, if you really wanted to,
No, I was just trolling you.
If you really instead wanted to talk about the proper way to pronounce GIF, and it's with a hard G, I don't care what Alex Trebek says.
I just thought we'd stir up a little false controversy so people could, Those stupid topics get a bunch of comments, though, because they're strongly held views.
We didn't have any controversy at all when we talked about, Chromebooks or aerial delivery.
I apologize.
Anyway.
It's the CNN in me. Go ahead.
So this story actually was from last week, but since we didn't cover it last week, I wanted to bring it up here because it's actually a pretty important story. Newegg, who is a technology, they sell stuff. It's what they are. They're an e-commerce site.
Yeah, they're kind of like the online Fries.
Yeah, for anyone who knows what Fries is.
Anybody who's going to build their own PC probably knows. They're checking out Newegg for components.
They're basically basically the Amazon for technology. and just technology. So they were being sued by a person named Spangberg. I think I'm probably mispronouncing his name. Spangenberg, who owns a patent related to electronic commerce. And Spangenberg claims that Newegg and just about everybody else who does e-commerce are in violation of this patent, and Newegg wasn't going to take it sitting down. Basically, Newegg's argument was that that the technology underlying this patent was actually predates the patent itself, and that there was nothing new or unique or innovative about it. And to prove their point, they actually brought to the stand the people who did invent that technology being the underlying components of things like SSL, which we use nowadays to secure just about every internet connection, every web connection that's out there. So we're talking pretty big stakes. We're talking pretty fundamental technology to the web, and we're talking a lot of money. So in the first round, in the first court case, the jury came back after just a couple of hours and said, no, Newegg was violating the patents and would need to pay. And Newegg has already promised an appeal of it to the next higher court, and we'll see where that goes. Personally, having only looked at the case a little bit, I am really kind of surprised that that Spangenberg won the patent, or won the case. Newegg brought to the stand, quite seriously, the inventor of the technology that was used, and there was testimony indicating that it predated Spangenberg, the patent that Spangenberg controls. So, and Spangenberg in questioning the scientist who was I'm about to say Rivest, but it wasn't Rivest, who was Diffie, who created this encryption system. In questioning him, they were questioning whether Diffie invented it or whether somebody else invented it even earlier than he did. So they were giving evidence that there was even more prior art. I really don't know how this helped their case, but apparently it at least didn't hurt it. But we'll see where this goes. This is a big deal, and I'm sure we will be discussing it again, even if Dan doesn't think that it's a ratings bonanza. Back to you, Dan. Back to you, Dan.
Okay, so the next thing is this judge. This is an article from GigaOM, which is they always do a good job. It's pretty good sober analysis from learned experts. And the headline here is Judge throws out Google privacy policy case, notes users are the real product. And the summary they have, last year Google combined the privacy policies of Gmail, YouTube, and all its products into a single policy. A U.S. judge this week explained why. And they note that in Europe that's not cool, but it's cool here in the U.S. He said, I'm trying to find the key quote here. By now, most people know who Google is and what Google does. Google serves billions of online users in this country and around the world with little or no revenue from its users. Google still manages to turn a healthy profit by selling advertisements within its products that rely in substantial part on users' personal identification information. In this model, the users are the real product. And they use the term one policy to rule them all. It's interesting to draw a contrast, Alan, to the way we covered what Facebook did when they did the exact same thing, but rolled it out differently. And I was sort of taken aback when my friend logged into my computer to check his Facebook. And I went to Facebook to check something, and I didn't realize that he was still logged in. And within a couple seconds, I realized it. And then I looked and I saw my picture. And it said Dan McDermott shared an abcnews.com thing. And that was a paid ad. ABC paid for that, right? and I'm not aware of it, but they're using my image to promote their thing. And I had not liked their page or anything. I'd simply posted a link to an ABC News story. I forget what it's about. And so they took that to mean that I've somehow endorsed abcnews.com, and I have no problem with it. I've been on Good Morning America, but they were. I didn't like the way that Zuckerberg implemented that policy. But I'm curious if has Google done it better, or it's just not a story now because Facebook did it, and so it's old news. You know, how do you weigh that, Alan?
I mean, I think, as in with many things, I think Google's done this better because their approach, for starters, has been more forthright, and second, has not been to kind of conceal what is really happening. So in the most recent round of policy changes, yes, Google's been saying that it will use your name and image attached to your public actions. And they've been clear about what that means. That means that if you +1 something, they will use your name and image to say that you +1 something. They're not going to use your name and image to say that that +1 means something else.
So we'll see, you know, the proof is in the pudding, and I imagine it'll be tough to make that analysis because I would imagine you would not see the ad yourself, right? Nobody's going to pay to advertise to Alan that Alan endorsed something. They want to push that to me. So we'll see how this plays out. And but I am amazed at the fact that the product is similar, yet Google has received very little criticism compared to what Facebook received in their rollout for a similar product.
Oh, Google's gotten a lot of criticism for it. What are you talking about?
Well, they have a lawsuit, but yeah, so
they've got an ad campaign against them.
Yeah, but on this, I see a difference, and I wonder if it's just because similar to like the Snowden leaks, they're getting less and less coverage because of volume, or you know, the number of them. It's like, okay, leak number 85 from the Snowden files. They're still getting coverage, but it's not like the same as the first few, if that makes sense. And as they continue to roll out, because I think the latest quote was they said that they've only released 1% of the Snowden documents that he, you know, stole and released or whatever. You're going to see sort of Snowden fatigue, and you're going to see privacy outrage fatigue as more companies, you know, as it becomes more acceptable. In the same way that I remember when someone's prosecuted because they pulled up to somebody's house years ago and they logged into their public Wi-Fi to send an email or whatever it was. And they were actually charged with a crime. Now, if there's a public Wi-Fi spot, you can just use it. I think that's, I don't know if it's legal or not, but there's all this, you know, like this person who was just charged with wearing Google Glass while driving. Note, I say wearing, not using Google Glass while driving. And not to be confused with this guy. There was a story about the guy who plugged his hybrid or electric car into an outlet at a school this week. If you actually read the original story, he was a real... That story suggested that he was being a real jerk to the cop and criticizing him for his internal combustion engine cop vehicle, and basically like he wouldn't have ever gotten a ticket except or gotten arrested except he was a jerk, which you know is a reminder you shouldn't be a jerk to a cop. But it's just it's interesting. I think I think that the criticism that Facebook got is different from this, and I think some of that is just because Facebook did it first. If Google done it first, then you know everyone would be up in arms, and then if Facebook did it later, we're accustomed to it. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You guys can weigh in on the comments. Okay, so I wish Craig were here for this next topic.
Yeah, I know, but this is breaking. This is, happened while we were on air earlier, so I figured I better add it in.
So tell us what the story is and why they chose this. This is huge. Is it price point or functionality? It can't be functionality because it's been pretty limited, but by their design.
Can you tell us what the story's
go
about?
ahead, Alan.
Sure, because Dan doesn't ever tell anybody what a story is about before he says everything about it first.
I like to quickly leap to an opinion based on the headline rather than
Without
actually digesting the
reviewing
article.
The headline.
I'm kidding. I don't do that. But you see that if you're ever in a bar or coffee shop, you'll see people. I call them headline readers.
Damn.
They read the headline and they launch into a vigorous, spirited debate, and none of them have actually read the freaking article, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But
that's why I love those headlines that are just so, like, kind of deceiving and, a little raunchy or whatever. It always gets people.
You like stories that are a little raunchy, man?
Now, all I can say, Alan, is I'm totally for this decision. Now, if you could please tell me what the decision was and why they reached it.
Right. We should actually, discuss what we're talking about here. So basically, Larry Page announced this evening that Time Magazine has been doing a lot of their top 10 lists since the year is winding down. So for their top 10 technology gadgets, the number one item is the Google Chromecast. They say as part of it, instead of trying to do everything like Google's famously ambitious and unsuccessful Google TV, this thumb-sized gizmo does one thing, does it as simply as possible, and does it for the impulse purchase price of $35. They conclude by saying, lots of companies have built devices to do this. Chromecast is the first one that gets it right. And I think that really says it all when it comes to the Chromecast. And I'll point out that it made number one over devices such as the new iPad, the Oculus Rift, the Pebble, a shiny gold iPhone 5S, the Nest Protect fire detector, the Leap Motion controller, and some cell phone from somebody named Nokia. So, a $35 thumb device that can do some awesome stuff made Time's number one list. I think it's awesome. Congratulations to the Chromecast team.
That is impressive. I mean, that's yeah. I like mine.
Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah.
My housekeeper is actually borrowing mine at the moment, so I can't.
Well, you should get a second one.
Absolutely. And I want to. I'll just share this. This is cool. This is Vic and Dotra. Has a new lab. I guess it's a lab, right? He's shared a picture. It's adorable, cute little dog.
Okay, I was like, dog or room?
Yeah, I'm gonna make
laboratory or.
Because once again, Dan is jumping into the middle of the story.
I mean, they're talking about a barge, this barge off the coast. So I was like, oh, he's got a new lab. What's he gonna invent?
What witty comment can I say?
It's too late, and I'm too far into this grapefruit vodka to.
I thought you were going to say your new stylus.
Yes, it's very late, so this is the point of the show where we talk about how we have another show on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and we almost start that on time most of the time these days, where Dan is once again going to talk about his teleprompter. But the other thing we'll be talking about on our Android Week is that there are changes coming to the Play Store. And a lot of them look like they dovetail with things that are going on in Google+. So we'll be talking about how they do, how they don't, and you get to hear me rant about it. I mean, you get to hear me talk about it.
Offer your scholarly
opinion.
Elegant-like acerbic wit.
And then, again, this is Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So, Dan, how was your Google+ week?
Mine was good. It was busy because we did, this is the print week, so I was busy making a newspaper happen, and it was pretty cool. We had some neat stuff. We had it was International Cheetah Day on the 4th of December, and we have a world-renowned facility here in Front Royal, Virginia, within about a 10-minute drive of where I am now, which takes endangered species, and one of their claims to fame is, I mean, they got some species that there's like 6 left in the wild. I mean, endangered, big time. And they try to get them to reproduce, because panda bears, for example, are famously difficult to get to reproduce in captivity, but they all try to do it because there's so few of them in the wild. And other species. But they don't have pandas there, but they have like all kinds of, you know, spotted this and just, it's wild. And they open it up one day a year. And I've been there taking photographs, and it's just a neat facility. And it's a bunch of scientists working with the Smithsonian, part of the National Zoo. And they just, they try to keep endangered species alive and try to figure out how to get them to reproduce in captivity so that they can reintroduce them and all that sort of stuff. So it's really cool that that's here. And then of course I got my new gadget, which I'll probably assemble it or disassemble it on the Monday night show at 9 p.m. Eastern, Android Week. It was good, you know, but I was laying the paper out. I finished, I think I got to bed at 7:30 a.m. I finally finished at 6:30 a.m. And then I woke up at 2 p.m. So I'm kind of groggy tonight. And a buddy of mine,
isn't going to prevent you from running this show as long as possible.
Absolutely. My buddy said, Gary Shank, he's with his girlfriend Jessica, and they're like 17 kids. And he said, make sure you do a shout out. So I had to do that. But he said, you were blinking too much. And I said, well, that's a common criticism of me because I blink all the time. But yeah, it was a good week. How was yours, Alan? Or Pam,
What?
I guess, is next.
Go for Pam. How was your Google Plus week, Pam?
Well, I got to play with my new Samsung Note 3.
Oh my God!
I think we're gonna have to. She could be the. She could be the. She could play the Mike Ellis on the Android show. She could play the Mike Ellis role on the Android show.
It's got Google Now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It has Windows Paint.
Yeah. So, other than that, let's see what else. So Thanksgiving happened, but we had a show since then, but I wasn't part of it.
Did you cook for Thanksgiving?
I got a temporary ridge. I got that today, so. Oh, yes, I did. I cooked sweet potatoes and relish for our part of the Thanksgiving potluck at my friend's house, and then I cooked a 20-pound turkey and all the fixings on Saturday. So, yeah, we're still eating turkey. Yep.
You didn't pardon any of them?
No, nope. And it turned out perfectly too. I've never cooked a really big bird like that, and I was really afraid it would dry out, but it was really, really good. It was awesome.
And if anyone has never seen it, go to YouTube and search for the West Wing episode where President Bartlett calls the Butterball hotline. It is epic. I mean, it's funny.
Or go to YouTube and look up WKRP in Cincinnati.
Their pilot episode.
Where they drop the turkeys.
I swear to God, I thought turkeys could fly.
As God is my witness.
As God is my witness.
Yeah, it was funny. And so then the next year, I think they dropped frozen turkeys or something. So I don't know. It was pretty funny. Anyway.
That was a disaster, yeah. But that was a great pilot episode. Okay, we're done, right?
No. Alan gets to talk about...
I thought Alan did his. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alan.
No.
I actually had a really good Google Plus week. On Wednesday, I went into to New York City for a Google developer group meeting, and that's always good to hang out with some other developers. And last night, I actually went to a Glass Explorer meetup, which was great. I was presenting about the glassware that I've been developing called Voodoo, V-O-D-O. We have a page on Google Plus if you want to check us out. The presentation was very well received. I had a lot of people in the audience that were interested in it. And I think one of the great things about this this meetup in general is that we had a lot of people who weren't developers in the audience. And these were people both who had Glass and who were just interested in learning more about it. And it really kind of drove home the point that what we as developers are doing, we're developing this for people. The glassware that we develop, Glass is meant to be used by people, not by other developers specifically. So what we're making, what people need to ultimately use, needs to be relevant in their daily lives. And it's a philosophy I've long held about Glass, and it was great to see that there are others that that believe the same thing and can follow through with it. So I'm really excited to see where this group goes. I'm really excited to see where the people that I spoke to last night, what they'll be doing with Glass. Oh, and I got interviewed by a couple of news organizations, including one in Japan, and I'm really looking forward to see what that's going to turn into.
Cadeas went through that. He was arriving and he had his glass on. So what was what did they ask you?
I cannot wait to do my what the fuck Japan meme with Alan.
Yeah, I was picturing you with that, and I was kind of curious how it'll end up. You know, I took some pictures of the interviewer, and maybe I'll provide them to you for reference. No, but it was good. It's always great to let people try on Glass for the first time and watch their face when they go, "Oh wow, this is cool," and start to get it and start to get how it can be used and why they'd want to use it. So that was fun.
What kind of stuff did the Japanese crew ask you?
You know, I almost don't remember anymore. It was getting late and I was kind of in a blur, but it was nothing like that, Pam. Pam is off camera laughing hysterically now.
I've obviously missed some.
They asked me things like how I use it, why I would, what I do with Glass, where I see the future of wearable computing, and so forth.
Do you know what show it was for? I mean, was it?
It was. Where'd it go here? I have their card. It was TV Tokyo. Whoever they are. So.
What city are they in? Cadeas was on Why Did You
New
Come
York.
to Japan? It was a comedy show, so I guess yours was a little more somber.
Yeah, these seemed like it was. They seemed like it was actually a legitimate news organization, or at least somewhat legitimate news organization.
I was born in Japan, and I'm short, so I can say this. When I was covering Obama, one time there was then Senator Obama. So this is 2008. There was a Japanese crew, and the guy was really short, right? And he literally had a little stand. He was walking. The camera guy had the camera, and then had a little stand, and he set it up so he could stand on it and be tall like the other reporters, and not be, have people in between him and the president. But it was cool. They had the coolest gadgets and fanciest cameras and stuff. It was really neat. But Japanese television is awesome, especially like their game shows are just off the chain.
And Pam gets a lot of her best material from them.
Indeed. They've come a long way from haiku. Okay, so Google Plus Week is every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're probably coming up on 4 hours, right?
Yep, we're at 3:45 right now.
Wow. So we have what they call a hard break. If I don't stop, they will. So we're here every Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our other program is about Android. It's very niche specific about if you're an Android enthusiast like Pam is. It's a great program. It's called Our Android Week, and that is Monday night, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. So Google Plus Week, this program, general tech news, specifically with an emphasis on Google stuff, Google Plus stuff, Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Our Android Week is every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And Pam will be very impressed that I got those times right. I want to thank you all for watching. We really appreciate your comments. Love it, love it, love it. Kevin Bryan, oh my God. Kevin, yeah, he does a workout, full workout, then shower and cool down, and then he comes back and we're still going. Dan, Energizer Bunny, McDermott for the win. That's funny. I'm still going to get an astronaut tube, so I don't have to leave the chair so often. But anyway, thank you all very much. We appreciate it. Until next week, have an epic, epic, epic Google Plus week. Thanks.